So the papers sort of blew that up again. But again, it was sort of put to us differently than what was leaked in the media. Because then my dad's phoning me, then asking me what's going on. So you're explaining, he goes, well, why is it in the Echo? Why is it? It's all being blown up out of proportion, and I probably just knew he was going to get the better of me, and I just have got no explanation for why I did it, because normally I as I said, a fair heart attack. That's not fair. That's sort of being a coward.
What did you do? On today's episode of Inside the Game, I talked to former Everton, Rangers, PSV and Manchester City defender Michael Ball. We talk about how his career began and the incredible list of managers he's played under. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. Michael, hello, welcome.
How are we?
I'm good. You?
All good, mate. All good. Go down memory lane.
Yeah, ready for this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
How far back do we have to go for your earliest football memory?
Oh, very young. I was born only a few streets away from Goodison, at Lowell Street, where Ollie's used to be.
Yeah.
On the corner. That's where I was born. My dad was in the pub game. The Tramways pub is not there anymore. And it was just watching out the window in the pub, really, watching everyone will walk to Goodison. And I always wanted to be a part of it. And then my dad, one day, I was only 3 or 4, I think, started dragging me down to Goodison, and you're kicking a ball against the wall and kicking on the streets. And that was sort of, I was hooked from that point, really, but never obviously played the game at that age and stuff. And then when we moved away, we moved to me mum and dad, they'd done a little swapsy we moved to Norris Green, then we done a swapsy to Formby, to a new housing estate there.
Right. And
then it was sort of trying to find new friends and new people, see people playing in the park, and got involved with them and their older brothers. So there was only me and my friend was Phil, and then all his mates and older brothers kicking around footy with them and just having fun as a laugh as a kid.
Yeah.
And luckily enough for me, there was one of the dads was a coach or had a team at the weekend and just asked us to come down one day and if I can join in. So ran home, told me dad, and he's like, "Well, you're too young. You're well too." I think you had to be 7. I think I was just around about I was 6, I think, and so we bit of a white lie on the paperwork and got involved for the first year or so. So that was it, and I just loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Were you natural, or were you just learning by playing with older kids?
I think both. I think both. Yeah. I think obviously when you're enjoying things, isn't it, because you're good at it. But they were always bigger and stronger, so you'd have to sort of use your wits. But I was very aggressive. I didn't like losing my battles, and very determined. And obviously, I think my dad spotted there was something there. Yeah. So it was. So that was it. Playing, losing, coming off the pitch in tears, hated losing. Yeah. And then you sort of have to grow up and realise, that's the part of the game, which is always still difficult, and even when you're playing. But that was. You didn't want that feeling again. I think the determination of playing against bigger players and the faster players, that it made me learn the game a lot quicker than probably normal. Playing
in that team, obviously, it's weird, isn't it, when you play football, because you see some kids who will put the hours in, just it doesn't really click, and then you see others, obviously, like yourself, or if you play it and you can just take to it quite quickly, and you can pick them up. But obviously, you going in a little bit early and messing with paperwork and all of that and developing. When did you first catch the eye of clubs or a scout, or when was there a little bit of talk about you? Not so long after that. Right.
It was again lucky. My older age group, who was playing with, their father was Hugh Macaulay at Liverpool. So Barry was a winger, and he was part of one of the coaches, and we were doing well. We were pretty successful. But I just always had a ball. My mum and dad would go out or whatever. We had a fence and a wall, so it was 1-2 against the wall, hitting the fence, doing a neighbour's head in, and that's all I did for hours and hours and hours. And just that's why I'm so dominant on my left foot, just the way the wall and the fence was positioned. That's the only angle I could do, and go out and replicate whatever happened on Match of the Day, and just try and do that, copy and look at the lads who used to go and watch it at Goodison, and Sheedy was obviously one of the top players, and everyone raved about his left foot, and that was what I was always trying to emulate him, doing whatever he done on the weekend, and go in the park or go in the garden and do it. But so Hughie was the one. Our team was pretty good, and so he just asked us to go to Melwood. I think it was a Tuesday. For I think a couple of weeks just to see where we are, and then after that we used to go to split up the Vernon Sanctus, so we ended up being at like Liverpool Centre of Excellence from then. So it was only once a week, and then went to Litherland High. So it was me and a couple of lads from the team and schoolmates all went there, and the coaches were spot on. It was Liverpool, I haven't got any love for them at all, but it wasn't like it was nowadays where you get the full kit and you get the full tracksuit,
name on it.
And the only kit I had was an Everton kit, so every week I was wearing me blue top and got a little stick and loads of banter. But the training was good. It sort of it didn't ground me, but it sort of helped me understand the basics of football. Keep it simple. Get your technique right. You can probably get over confident by trying too many things on match days and stuff like that. But Stevie Iway's your coach, Hugh McCall, because Dave Shannon's your coach. They were top coaches, and all he concentrating was a technique, really control technique, crest the ball, coming out with very very adult sayings, really, that we didn't understand as a kid. Crest the ball as you caress your girlfriend, and we're like, what? Really? Well,
I'm 8, what are you on about?
So it was all enjoyable. They were brilliant, and I was there for quite a few years, really.
I didn't realise that. But Steve Iway was obviously had a fantastic record at Liverpool anyway, didn't he? And like I said, I knew Hughie anyway later on, but didn't realise you were there for that long. But
it was all enjoyable first, obviously all the way through, and then as you get the older age groups, you start going to Melwood more and more.
On that gravel pitch, remember that gravel?
But then and the big changing room just had a big shutter in between from one side to the other, and it was always nerve-wracking going to Melwood. You had like weird butterflies in your belly as you turn into the corner, because you knew it wasn't just enjoyable as it is on your mates. I think I was sort of touch lucky because of my age. You play Saturday for one team, you play Sunday for another team, but then you're getting really good coaching from Liverpool. So I had the balance of playing football, having confidence to go and do what I wanted to do Saturday, Sunday, enjoyment, and then getting down to the proper football coaching. There's a good mix for me. I think it really helped me develop. And then when you go to Melwood, then it's at the you see the first team all about, and Highway pulled me in. Graham Souness, Kenny Dalglish was the manager at first, and Souness came in, and they're getting you in and around the place, and it's getting a bit too much a little bit. The stick got a little bit worse the older you get. Can you handle it? John Barnes throwing peas at you in the canteen, and little David Thompson took me in. Over the Easter break, you're still in school, and you go in and you train with like the under 18s and stuff, and get a feel of what it's going to be like for the future, and inviting you to games, and me and my dad are sitting there going, I don't really want to be in there, go into the changing room, seeing all the players, and seeing how they get themselves ready for match day. It was all a good experience, all to see it all, but you just knew something's happening here. Why are they doing all this? But because they knew every week I was always me Everton top wearing it, and they used to give me stick, and I loved it. I just loved the banter. I loved I would never put the top on. It never had to put the top on. So it was. It was. I loved it. I just really loved the experience.
That is a great kind of part of football education for you, though, isn't it? Because you're getting used to that, you're getting exposed to that early. That banter. Obviously, they could see there was a player in it. I'm quite sure not everyone had that same treatment, because obviously the coaching, they can see who's going to make. Well, who's got a great chance of making it if it's right and all that. And they're trying to bring you around, aren't they, to that way?
They are. Later on, when it gets to the serious 13. Around 30 before you sign schoolboy forms, that's when it all sort of speeds up a little bit. Probably there for 4 or 5 years, probably more. And they pulled me in and they said, I see you slipping over a little bit in the indoor, a little and high. Do you need any trainees? I was going, no, I'm all right. You know what I mean? So the next minute you're getting a pair of Adidas Sambas, and you're thinking, here we go. This is good.
This is all right, yeah.
And it's just getting us out. But we had a good team. Like, our team was really good. Jason Kumas, obviously Steve, and Michael Owen, Stephen Wright. There was Matty Cash. It's just our group of players was really good.
Yeah.
We were a really good side, and you think, we would have probably matched anyone when the games all kicked in. The games didn't really kick in at that time.
Yeah.
And then round about the Easter period, for some reason, there must have been the rules where you're allowed to go and train for other teams. They opened trials up, so me, Michael and Stephen went to Man United for a couple of days. Again, that was strange. Nobby Stiles is your coach, and they're trying to obviously see what level you're at compared to what they already have. We played the game against their United side, so Wes Brown obviously stuck out. There must have been a few other lads, but Richie Wellens maybe. But then you get letters come through then Oldham. Jim Castle and Joe Royle was at Oldham at the time, so you went to Oldham for a day or two, and you showcase your skills to them, and then that's when the letters start arriving at home, offering you all X, Y's and Z's, and you're thinking, and then it's, to be fair to Liverpool, I think they knew they were not going to win the battle really, but they tried. And we did have a good side, even Jason Kumars ended up leaving, and I thought he was one of our better players, but I think maybe because of Stephen and others there, that he probably thought moving on would have been beneficial for himself. But Graham Souness was there. He pulled me in. He pulled in Ian Rush. He pulled in Robbie Fowler. And just to explain look, you can still be part of this football club while you support the Blues. They did say they look for the Everton results, and you can still be, a good professional here. But it just was going right over my head. There's no way I couldn't do it, and it was, at least he tried. And Graham Souness, to be fair to him, he just said, look, you're Everton, I'm Liverpool. You're English, I'm Scottish. I wish you well. And hope you sign for us. So that was it.
That was it. No more pressure.
There was no more pressure than that, and it was trials for England was always happening round about then with Lilleshall at the time. So there was all kind of trials going on. It was very strange going on trials because everyone's always trying to impress. Everyone's running all over the place. Everyone's going mental, and it's not used to what you're nice and calm, assured training sessions or games that you're used to, so sometimes it's difficult to stick out. But it was all enjoyable. It was like a bit of real learning curve to see what else is out there, especially in that national side, or especially in the Northwest. And when the letters come through, you get your offers for your YTS and professionals, and it's up to you to make a choice. And there wasn't one coming from the team I wanted at the time.
That's mad, isn't it? Because I know Jamie Carragher's obviously a huge Evertonian, wasn't he? And left Liverpool for a bit to go to Everton and didn't like it and went back to Liverpool. That's still a massive Blue. Yeah. So it's still an Evertonian and you know that.
I heard him say that, and I sort of understand it because the coaching at Liverpool was very good. Yeah. It was a high standard, but it was normal to us. Yeah. It's only when you go elsewhere, you see, you get it a little bit. Yeah.
But your fire obviously burned a bit brighter.
It is. I'm just waiting for the letter or the phone call from Everton. Didn't think it was ever going to come. It came a few years earlier, but it was just. Do you want to come in and train? It wasn't anything, official or anything. But it was the same day Liverpool. That's carried on. That was when I was maybe 10 or something. But so when Ray Hall, speaking to Ray quite a lot, it sort of happened through Howard. Howard Kendall was the one that knew what was going on with the club, so we need to start looking into our academy, start getting the local boys in, trying to get the best players we can to develop them for our future. Maybe he knew what was going on upstairs, that we couldn't keep on funding the way we have been in the past, and Ray said I was one of the first ones, or the first one to start it all, from going from that side to our side, and it was strange one because I never trained with Everton. I've never been never been on trial with them, and it was the phone call to meet Howard at Treetops, a restaurant back in the day, was in Formby with me mum and dad, and had to find a suit. It was a posh restaurant, didn't have a suit to my name, so I'm wearing me, a friend.
How old are you at this point?
13. So
yeah, you're not gonna likely to have a suit, are you?
No, and the suit was, it probably wouldn't fit me now. It was an experience, and I could say it was nice to sit down on a table with Howard and Ray Hall, but I didn't really get much of a choice. It was sat down, it was a quick hello, and it was like, right lad, do you want to sign for Everton? I went, yeah, of course. And he goes, okay, go and sit over there in the bar area, and I'll speak to your mum and dad. And it wasn't a quick chat. You know, they enjoyed themselves for a good few hours.
You sat on your own?
I just sat on my own, just looking at the fridge, gasping for a drink. I wanted a Coke, I wanted something, but I was too nervous to ask for one. And
you should have said, Liverpool, give me a pair of Samba trainers. You want to be getting me a Coke?
I could hear my dad. My dad's got quite a funny laugh, and then I could hear them laughing. They should enjoying themselves, but I could also hear my dad telling Howard a few home truths. Some players, I'm going, oh, he's going to ruin this. And Howard's blaming the pitch, everyone's slipping. And I'm thinking, are they talking about me? I want, get to the point, and I wanted to know how they're getting on. And basically, taxi comes, and we all jump in, drop Howard off. And my mum and dad are a little bit worse for wear. My dad just winked at me, so I knew it was good. Didn't say anything. Waited for him to fall asleep and tried to find the paperwork that was there. And I seen her being offered because it was all, you're not supposed to tell him, let him concentrate on his education and stuff like that. So they probably planned to tell me the next day, but I was too wired. I was too
been sat gasping for 3 hours.
I want to know what's happening. And it was just like, that's what you've been waiting for. That's you've been holding on to that. And then going back to Jamie, like obviously then you signed, and you my first game, he trained for a couple of times, and the training session wasn't as I expected. But I think that's more down to myself, not knowing how they tick, how they work more than anything else. And because you're a new boy, you're getting praised a lot for doing something very simple. You're thinking, like that's only a normal pass.
A bit of top,
but you get it. They're trying to blend you in, they're trying to get you. But then you get your eyes of the lads who are there. You're going into a changing room, and
So we was in that changing room, and you've gone in.
Well, probably being like Adam Farley, Mick O'Brien, the youth team, basically. Again, it was all Danny Kadamachi was part of it, and he was at the trial at the Oldham when I went to a trial at Oldham. So Danny was the first time I come across Danny was there. So I met Danny then. So it just would have been the majority of the youth team that ended up winning it, to be honest. I know there's a few mixed of ages, but that's what it was all about. And the coaches, there was Ted Sutton at the time.
Sunbed said.
Sunbed said. And it was all great. Ray Hall was obviously overseeing everything. And it was the first time sort of the 11th side kicked in for the clubs. So my first game for Everton was against Liverpool, against all my old teammates at Melwood. And it was like, there we go. And that's where the Derby badness come out of you then. And then, we done well. We won. I can't remember the score, but it was convincing. It was a convincing winner. Maybe it might have been 3-0, 3-1. And it was just walking off the pitch with a big smile on my face, like I've made the right decision. And it's just that little childless things that you've got one over on your mates, and your little smile and go, right, okay, I'm with a good side, we're going to do well. And so that was the start of it. But unfortunately, I got into the Lilleshall side. So you're not training anymore with Everton. You're away for majority 2 years.
Just for people who because it's not like that now, is it? So for people who don't know what it was, you basically went and lived national training
clubs will put you forward. I think Liverpool put me forward to go start the trials. I think the trials go on for a couple of years. A couple of players from each team, and then you go to Keele University, you have a couple of trials, and they just narrow it down to a certain number, and then they have a national trial, and then the best 16 that age group get the opportunity to give the scholarship for 2 years at Lilleshall, and it's basically boarding school. It's living in that was England Sports Centre at the time, and so you live on base. You just go to a normal school, a local normal school on coach, and with all your Umbro gear on, the bright green and bright orange back then, But that again, the coaching was brilliant. The coaching was spot on. You get you focus on whatever it was, heading or passing for 1 week, and then it's something else. So you're getting a lot of information in, a lot of boredom because you're away from home a little bit. But but it can get, there's two age groups, your own age and the year above. So the year above was Branchy, was my senior. So you always have banter with them. They're always bullying you and trying to get one over on you. And their team, they had a brilliant team, and Jody Morris and John Curtis. So you had the opportunity to play against them, but they were just head and shoulders. A fantastic side, and always difficult to play against. But they've had a year on us of this training and developments, and we just knew that if we can it'll get close to them, we'll have an opportunity to go through. And they used to get the warning signs. You obviously had to do your education, which is very difficult. To be phoning home to my mum, have you read this book? Have you read that book? And she'll be coming in on a Sunday to give me like a coursework. I'll be cheating, handing in a couple of papers each week. And you played against your old teams, so you play against Everton on the Sunday. Next week you play against Liverpool. And whoever, the majority of the lads at Lilleshall, Arsenal, and they'll come to Lilleshall and play a game. So we were good, we were good. Very good. I don't think we lost the game while we were there at all. We were head and shoulders. And there was a lot of good players should have got into that side as well. We missed Stephen Gerrard, never got in, but should have. We should have. Kenny Lunds from Crewe was there. There was a lad from Arsenal.
Good player.
But we were just a good team, and that was just down to the training Monday to Friday. So that was really good. But what that didn't do, I couldn't build a relationship with Everton.
Of course, yeah.
So it was only a half term. So when you broke up for half term, you can go and train, but you're still too young. You're only 14, 15, but they'll open the door up to come and train with the YTSs, and you see how it all works again, and you're like, there was ruthless back then. The jobs I still had to do the jobs, and I'm just walking in, training, and getting off. I was underage.
Did you not have to?
Well, no, because
mate, when I was in,
when a YTS,
when I was in at school. Because the YTS kid, they'd just be like,
no, you're
John
doing
Everett, people like that would just be like, no, you have to do that.
No,
and they'd get off.
I was sort of lucky because it was only.
You must have had a good group.
Yeah, it was only a couple of days of the week, and it was the games. You just turn up for the football games and then disappear. So it was. I got away with it.
Were you all right? Were you able just to slot in though? Because obviously you're a very good player. You're at one of the best in the country then at that level. So were you able? Did you find it all right just dropping into the games because you're just doing your thing, or
a little bit? It was always because they're a couple of years older than you. They're the YTSs, and they're physical. They've got muscles in the legs, and I was a little skinny. So you think, wow, you had to be. It was more determination for myself, thinking I had to give everything. Because if I don't, I might hurt myself, or I'm not going. If I don't stand out, But I felt like I was in a win-win situation. If I didn't do well, it's expected, and if I did do well, it's a bonus for them.
Right, what position were you playing in?
Well, this is where position sort of started, because I ended up going back the way, sneaking down from left mid to centre mid. I used to love playing centre midfield and your left mid, but then when you're playing the older levels, there's not many left backs, so you could slot in at left back and get a game. So you go, right, I'll take that.
I'll
take that. The lads in midfield are too good. Left wing's too fast. So the position for me was left back, and even though I have been playing there, it was always the teams who were played higher up for. That's where they always used to sort of slot in at, and then centre back started at Everton as well a little bit then. And but the lads were brilliant. They had their own sort of click. They had their own sayings. They had their own little ways of Sid, and which no way of like letting the ball go, and you're picking all that, and you're trying to take it a little short to add to your game as well. So I had a great balance. I had a really good balance on my development, and I think when you come back from Lilleshall, you finish with 16, you sort of your scholarship's over, you finish your GCSEs, and then your YTS kicks in then, and that's when the first time I started everyday training with Everton.
How did you find that going in there then? Was it just because you've had that grounding for almost 2 years at Lilleshall, was it okay for you? Because I know that sometimes kids struggle going from not being in every day. I know it's a bit different now, isn't it? Because if you watch any of these academy programmes now, these kids are training 4 times a week, aren't they? With their initials on. From about this big. But obviously then it was a little bit different. But were you able to slot in? Because it was being your routine?
I think so. Again, I was just lucky that there's a lad a year older than me. He was doing the YTS as well, so I could go in with someone. We're getting 2 buses. We get a bus to Bootle and the bus to Queen's Drive, and then we'll walk through, and you have to get there on time. You got the job, so I had to do the boot room before the lads go out. So that was always a mess. You know what I mean? And then clean the balls. I couldn't get my head around why we've got to clean the balls. Going to be wrecked in a minute. You know, one of them. But that's just been a white trying to get out of it. The
rain will clean it.
Yeah, gutted. I never got anyone's boots because you know, thinking everyone used to talk about the Christmas bonuses and stuff like that. So I didn't get that opportunity. But again, fortunate that I probably did just slot in, enjoyed it, joined the band, just loved being you're at Everton, you're at Belfield, you're going in and the first person you see is Mary, you know, and then Big Nev, they were the first ones that always in, first one give you a stick, first one, you know, every morning.
If you can survive Nev's stick, you know.
Yeah, you know, the amount of nicknames he's given me over the past, you know, it's like, what is it now? But you're just like in awe of them, you're just like, wow, is this what they do? And you see them when they're down, you see them when they're up, and majority of the time they were always up. Even at results, you're expecting, you know, they're going to be in a bad mood today, but they wouldn't. The game's gone. You start learning off that. Dave Watson was brilliant at that. He goes, you know, win, enjoy it, but don't up it up too much. And if you lose, you lose. You can focus on the next game and get rid of that mentality. And that you just learn off them all. All the pros were brilliant. You know, they were all, but you know, you're focusing at them. You know, I was looking at them, going, well, who am I going to be taking, and who was positioned? Like, can I get into that team? How can I develop? And it's like they would call it the pathway now. You know, but you know, my determination was. John Ayres, Ronnie Goodless was our coaches at the time, but Jimmy Gabriel was still there, and Jimmy didn't have much of a reserve side. There wasn't, you know, back then there was probably, you know, 5 or 6 lads in the reserves, and then the rest were made up from the youth, and then the first team lads who needed minutes on the pitch. And, so that was when pre-season starts, normally first week in July, and then I turned 17 in October, and then that's when I moved up. Straight away to the into the reserves. So I played for reserves for 16, but I was more involved with the reserves from that day on. And that's when I thought, wow, the standard's really good. The standard was one touch, but you're playing with players like ballers who probably didn't suit the Everton style back then, but they were professional. They worked hard. There was Limpard, there was Vinnie Samways, Paul Ryder couldn't really get a game. He played a lot of reserves. So you're learning off these sort of players and how aware they were in situations, 2v2s, 3v3s, and you're like, wow, you know, this is the speed of everything was very, very sharp. You had to be switched on, and you didn't want to feel like you're the one letting them down, so you had to try and go and impress them. You thought if you can impress your teammates around you might get an opportunity. And again, I think just being left-sided gave me that bit of a bit more of a push, really, because days before games, Joe would like to do 11v11, and the 11 they'd be playing against would be roughly set up how they're going to be, whoever the opposition is at the weekend. And Kanchelskis was our out man, and I'm left back. But I'm sort of, I know what's going to happen here type thing. And look, I think I mentally sorted myself out like it's a cup final. You know, I'm thinking I've got an opportunity to train with the full first team, and I don't want to be sort of getting bullied or be the weak link. And I knew the outlay was always going to be Andre, and it was just how the team are going to get the ball out to him for him to push us forward. But I spoke to Andre a few times over this. I was tight. I was a bit nasty, you know. I wouldn't let him past me, and he had to stop the session and just to say, Mike, can you just let him go? You know, obviously Andre's not trying. You know, he's just going through the motions. But it's my World Cup final. Yeah, exactly. You know, so it's they go, look, we're trying to do a phase of play, and we need to get.
You're ruining it.
And I told my dad, and my dad was quite chuffed about that, and thinking, well, you know, if you can handle your own. I said, well, he's not really trying, is he? But to be fair, from that moment, I was started to be involved with the first team quite a lot. And then Joe, Willie Donaghy, spent a lot more time with me. I physically wasn't ready, but you know, going in the gym and trying to sort of bulk out. But you know, Les at the time said it will happen naturally, but help yourself. You know, do as much as you can. Didn't have to do the jobs. I still had to go home on the bus, but then you're getting lifts off the first team then, because they see you sort of standing outside the bus stop, you're getting picked up, getting dropped off, like to Bootle, and then you get the bus home from there. So it's that you start to build relationships with the first team lads and how they went about things. So that's, he's just like a sponge, just soak it all up. And it was, I loved it. But then I was thinking I was better than some people at times. I felt I'm better than them. I can do that job. I can do this. But that's more naivety, and they've got years experience on you. They're probably just recovering in their training days. They're just trying to get their body ready for the Saturday. I'm fit, young, giving it everything every day, thinking, well, is that all you can bring to the table type thing? But you'd understand it when you get older and wiser, because when it happens to you, you go, "Whoa, hang on, kid, calm down." And you'd understand a little bit, and they've got the pressures, they've got the negative side of bouncing back from a defeat to walk in, and I'm just fresh, loving every minute of it, and just waiting for my opportunity. And Joe used to get us on the bus, trying to make teas. That was the most nerve-wracking thing of the lot. I've never made a cup of tea in the house. My mum wouldn't trust me without dropping anything or making a mistake. So then being on the coach and giving the Jaffa cakes out, then that was sort of my job. And I try and get away from the cup of teas when it was hard. The pressure's on. The pressure's on to make the cup of tea.
You're all right up against Andrzej Kanchelskis, but making a cup of tea, that's a different gravy.
It's too weak, you got Nev on your shoulder. So that was being around them then, just you love it. And you're just waiting and hoping for an opportunity. And when you're a kid, every hour seems to take a week, but it's one of them things which going back, you just loved it.
But you were giving your debut Spurs?
It was Spurs, it was Spurs. Yeah, Spurs. That was unfortunately Joe left. Yeah, and I thought, when Joe
happened
left,
quick, didn't it? That happened.
It did, and I think it was a bit of a shock for the lads. We understood we weren't doing what we wanted to be at, and the success he had obviously in '95, and it was a disappointing drop off after that. And the players we had were good, but we just couldn't get a run of results. And Andy Hinchcliffe was in front of the England international, the Terry Phelan was the Irish international. So you're thinking, how am I going to get into the squad? And because Joe was a fan of me, I thought he was. I thought, if I'm going to get an opportunity, it was going to be through Joe. So when he left, I'm thinking, this could halt me a little bit. I might not get my opportunity. So when that happened, Dave took over. Dave's obviously knew all about me by training and stuff like that. But then you're thinking, he's got to think of himself and the football club. Will he trust a youngster, in these situations? And I was on the bench, but I didn't think I'd be a part of the team, coming on. I didn't think that would happen. I think he would have got a safer look, to be honest. But football's mad. Things happen, and players who probably haven't been injured for years start to falling apart. With Terry Phelan got injured against Spurs just before half time, and that gave my opportunity to come on, and that was a bit strange. It was obviously a buzz. You go into the sort of game zone, you're like, right, that is my moment now, loving it. And then I think Nev kicked the ball towards me to flick it on. It went out for a throw-in, and then the referee blew up for half time. So it was like never touched the ball, and then that was the worst bit, half time, because you got, was it 10 minutes probably back then, sort of just thinking, I've made my debut, that's gone. Now can influence the game, can I do something? And Dave Watson just pulled me to one side and goes, go and enjoy it. You know what this crowd's all about. You do what you do. If you've tackled someone, you're going to get a cheer off the crowd. Just go out and express yourself and do what you do. So there was no sort of special tactics. Just go out and play the game. And
it was a big game, that though.
It was a big game at the time.
We had to win it, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a huge game at the time, and I think I don't think you want to put any pressure on me to do anything. But I just wanted to. Obviously, being part of it, you want to show why he's given that opportunity for you to go and express yourself. And even though I was a defender, I was more of a Gary Lineker in my youth day. I never got sent off, never got a booking. I was always sharp in tackles, but always quite fair. Yeah. And then I think a couple of minutes in the second half, the ball's gone to, is it Ramos Vega? And he was trying to shield it out to play for a throw-in or something, a goal kick, and I'm hacking at his heels. And so I got booked after about 5 minutes in the second half. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to be getting sent off now. And it's the real world. As I said, I was very slight against Vega, but I'm trying to show my enthusiasm. But the crowd loved it, and that just gave me that buzz. And then you're just on adrenaline then. And lucky enough, we got the goal and we won 1-0. So to come off the pitch, with a photo with Lucas Diallo, Lucas A. Bottle, and I was proud you've made the debut, but more so that you've been part of a very important win.
Huge win, and obviously that secured Everton status, didn't it? for the season. Full debut at West Ham. Is that right?
It was. It wasn't as good, but before then was the derby.
Oh yeah, we had the derby.
We had big derby. So again, that was another game where I was on the bench, so that maybe debut on a Saturday, and on the Wednesday we had Liverpool. I was on the bench, and probably the most time I was nervous before the game.
Yeah,
you know, it was my first derby. I was on the bench. I'm still a fan. I'm not a player.
Yeah,
and I'm more nervous as I am now. When I go to a derby now, you're nervous wreck. And then opportunity happened when Craig Short had an awful fall. He fell on his head. Yeah. And I don't know, it was sort of like a shock when Waggy just pointed at me, said warm up. I go, ooh. And then that was it. Then there's went game mode on again. And again, not too much instruction. I can't even, if Waggy did say anything, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I just remember jogging on the pitch. You know, when you're a sub and you do like a little nervous little jiggle and you run on, and then you realise I'm playing left back, so I'm going to turn around and go back and reposition again. And then I just looked up and Duncan just gave me the eye to look over at, I think it was Jason McAteer and Rob, I think at first, and then Rob Jones when he came on just to stop them. So playing wing back. And it was just knew they were the outlet. Rob Jones was obviously their main outlet at the time. But I think McAteer was starting, so I just focused on them, and I don't think I got involved in that game. I hardly touched the ball. I just remember after thinking I hardly touched the football, but I cancelled out one of their threats, and I'd done my job. So I was really pleased with that. I'm really pleased, obviously, when he made the sub, it showed what I was doing, stopped them. So then fresh legs coming on, and all I wanted to do was stop it. And you know, we got the positive result, and Big Dunk gave us a big hug, and that was it. Then I was buzzing. That was it. Just buzzing that you know, I'd done my job. I didn't let Duncan down, didn't let the teammates down. You know, and but you think back and think, you know, it was a brave decision by Dave Watson to put a youngster in for those two big games. That I think that's not Liverpool going for the title as well, and then obviously the week before it kept us up survival. So two big games that he showed a lot of faith in me, and then coming off the pitch, and that one was, I didn't know that I think Richard Dunn was the youngest to be part of the Merseyside derby, and then I broke it, so I gave him a little bit of stick after that one. So it's obviously to be the youngest to be at the time to be involved in the Merseyside derby. I was like really, really proud of that.
I mean, you know, like you say, two huge things to get in the side for. You know, Spurs, that was obviously huge Merseyside derby. Then you do get the full debut, which is testament to how well you've done, because quite sure Dave Watson didn't like you that much, that if you weren't performing, he was just going to play you anyway. So, you know, what do you remember about the West Ham game and your full debut?
Jimmy Gabriel pulled me. He was brilliant, Jimmy, with me. Great character to be around. My dad obviously adored him. You know, and he just seemed to have a lot of time for me. So Belfield used to put the team up, and he pulled me to one side and go up to the boss's room, and the boss's room there was a kit there, so he opened it up, the kit box it was, and then he opened it up and my 25 ball was there. And I was like, I didn't really get what he was on about, to be honest. He goes, what? He goes, you're starting. Right. And I was like, oh. And I don't know whether, obviously you're buzzing, but normally I haven't started a game yet, and just sort of going along with the motions, going along with following like sheep, really, just copying what everyone else is doing. But now you're starting, you're thinking, you know, you don't let the team down, really. And again, I think that one was more mentality from your head. I think, again, didn't do too well. The game sort of bypassed me a little bit. Probably weren't expressing myself as I was in the reserves and the other two games against Tottenham and Liverpool. I did what I needed to do. But then I think they were probably hoping for a bit more for me to go, you know, express yourself now. You know, don't just cancel yourself. Even though I'm cancelling out their opposition, I'm cancelling myself out as well. You know, not giving them much of a threat. And the game didn't really go to plan for us. And then I come off a half time, so I was disappointed, thinking, you know, I didn't really get involved enough there. You know, the game bypassed me too much, so I could understand why I got brought off. And but it was it's a learning curve. It's a box ticked. I've started. But then it makes you more hungry to go, right, I want 90 minutes now, and that's how my head was at that moment in time.
I mean, you've just broke into the Everton side, and obviously that season finishes, and then Everton bring in Howard Kendall back. There was a lot of talk of there seemed to be, you know, we'd had all sorts of promises, fans having me Cliff Finch saying, what's this space and all that, you know. when Van Hanegem was one from Holland who looked like he was coming in, but it was Howard and Andy Gray, of course.
Yeah.
That was the most famous one of that summer. But Howard comes in, so obviously an Everton legend comes back. But obviously it was difficult, wasn't it? Because there was no real money to go and do anything at that time. You're a young lad in that. And that season is a difficult one anyway. The kit was terrible. The once I hated that kit.
I had to model that.
Is your next tip?
Yeah, I think me and it might have been Phil Jevons. We got sent from Belfield to Goodison, and it wasn't 1-to-1. It was another sponsor, and we had the names of the couple who were probably funding it. And then I think we kept that. We just put a sticker over it to 1-to-1 in the end.
Off you went.
It was not one of my proudest moments.
But obviously we have that season, and then you've gone through obviously the turmoil with that. We had Gary Speed leaving, and when he was the captain, wasn't he, and doing really well. And there was such turmoil. We get to the end of that season and that Coventry game. We'll talk to a few people now who played in that, Gareth Farley, Don Hutchison, talking about that. But what was it like for you as an Evertonian that week? Because it was obviously just a horrible, horrible time, wasn't it? And
it was mixed emotions, obviously. Let's go back,
because I've skated over your first goal, by the way.
My
first goal, which is a huge moment. You're still Everton's 9th youngest goal scorer.
Is that what it is? There's a record that me and Danny always hold on to, and that's because of this game. But that was a game where I got a bit peed off, because playing centre half, thought I'm doing really well, thought of doing what I need to do, and cancel out me opposition, and there's players like Ian Wright, and they're just clever and nasty, and I think was it Adrian Heath pulled me and said, "You're marking him, on corners." I'm like, okay, I'll back myself. Yeah. He said, man, he was teaching me. He said, put your hand behind your back and grab hold of his shirt, and don't let him get a yard, because he's not going to get the ball. He's going to get the drop downs. So be switched on. So okay. So every time I went to grab him, he's screaming at the referee, like so loud, and I'm like letting go, like panicking, and then he's just looking at me, laughing his head off, and I'm going, "Oh, stop it!" So I was like, the little tricks of the trade that the oldsters used to do, and he done it all the time. I think I just didn't want to let Inchy down, because he's told me what to do. Yeah. But in the actual game, I thought we were doing well, but we were 2-0 down at half time, and I was obviously frustrated, thinking, "How are we 2-0 down here?" And changes happened at half time, and then I got moved out to left wing back. And you feel, is he blaming me? Is it, is it my fault? Did I do, maybe obviously I've stopped my man, have I missed left gaps and space? So my head was like a little bit all over the place, but I just knew wing backs, I just knew how I'd wanted from wing backs is just to get forward. If the ball comes to the other side, make sure you're on that back post, and that's what I had to do. And we had the moments, it happened, it was all slow motion. I think Terry Phelan put the ball in, there was a flick on, there was Graham Stewart sort of headed it across, and somehow I'm in the penalty area between, Tony Adams and whoever, and I've got knocked it past Dave Seaman, and I haven't got a celebration in me, but it's just the emotion of scoring that goal. It's like I probably celebrated a cup final win, really. And then it's only when you're jogging back and a few players are giving you a bit of high fives and hugs, like Slaven and stuff, that you think, I'm still getting beat. It's only 2-1.
Well, it's a huge moment.
It is.
For you as an Everton.
It was brilliant, but you don't want to be coming off the pitch, defeated.
No.
You score, it won't feel the same. And then obviously Danik had a matchery at that time, got given a run in the side, and and that he was just full of energy. The unknown, no one knew how to mark him, how to look after him, and he took full advantage of that, and he scored a fantastic goal. And Danny was an Arsenal fan as well, really. So it was to come off drawing was fantastic.
And they were
scoring,
and
then that was the record that I think still stands with me and Danny, the only two 17-year-olds to score in the Premier League. So we always sort of look out when a youngster come in. Is anyone going to nick that off us? That's the only thing we can hold on to. So again, it's another tick. It's buzzing. But then you obviously want to try and get more. You just love it. You love everything about it. You just want to be a part of it more and more. So then, obviously, Howard came in the summer. Howard left. Sorry, in the summer. He was. No, hang on. What's happened there?
We got to Coventry.
Coventry showed the Coventry. Yeah, so the Coventry game, the build for the Coventry game. Sorry, was it was. Howard knew it was different. Nowadays it's normal. You went to a hotel the day before, make sure we're eating the right food, getting the right rests, and for the home game especially.
Yeah.
And you knew it was different. I think the pressure was more on the senior players. I think they understood it a lot more. I understood it as a youngster, but I think I was still far naive. I didn't think the worst was going to happen. I look back now at that situation and think, wow. That didn't enter my head back then. I just really truly believed with Everton Football Club, I had that mentality, we'll be all right.
The beauty of youth.
Yeah, it was just, it was just blindsided really. I just thought, it's in our hands, we're fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing to worry about. So I was never nervous. I wasn't really enjoyed it all going to Goodison, and you see the crowd all waiting for it. That was a bit of a buzz and stuff like that. But to me, I didn't feel any pressure as a youngster. I didn't feel any pressure as a local lad. I just always 100% confident we'll be all right. And that's, I think speaking to Don Hutchison since and speaking to the others, you can see now the reactions after the game. We got the result that we needed, luckily. But it's the mentality that even the game when we got the penalty, I was thinking, who's taking the penalty? I was creeping forward. I was all over it. But I haven't scored in Glasgow Street. That was me little box. I was just like, I'll back myself. And and then when things start going against you, it was just, if you watch that game back now, it's terrible, isn't it? It's just Rose-Ed, and
it had to be though, didn't it?
Yeah, and you can see some players hiding, some players are scared, some players that they don't want to be the one to make a mistake, which I get.
Yeah.
And I was playing out wide, and I got a nasty injury. I always forget the player's name who hit me, but it was on the sideline by the family enclosure. So there was stood right into my knee, and I was on the side of the pitch. The physio Andy Jones come over and looked at me and just wiped me. You're not playing, and I pushed him. He slapped me. I'd love to speak to any fans who were there. If anyone witnesses that. And that was it. I was off. I was walking down the steps, and then Howard looked at me and said, "What's up with you, lad?" And he went, "He won't let me play." He said, "Do you want to?" I went, "Yeah." He said, "Get back on the pitch." I turned around and ran back on again. And so it was obviously I wanted to help the boys. I didn't want to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of it and just make sure we got over the line. And luckily we did. Changing room afterwards was very quiet. Players was a lot of relief.
Yeah.
There was no really celebrations, and I can remember. But I was hauled into the doctor's office and thrown against the wall by my neck by the physios and the doctor. That I could have let Everton down. I lost half a yard near the last 10-15 minutes, and basically going against doctor's orders, basically what they're giving to me. But I didn't care. I didn't really care.
We'd
done the job. We stayed up, and then walking out of Goodison with bags full of tablets and on crutches, you realise, what damage you might have done. But again, didn't care. Didn't really care. I think we had a holiday booked and with me mates, and I'm still going on holiday. But that's happening. But seeing Howard the next day, went back to Belfield because obviously to see the doctors to get it all rebandaged up again and getting stitches and stuff. And he must have knew then because he didn't leave till late on in the summer, but he just didn't really say much to me. He just met me at the steps, give me a massive hug, go and do what you need to do, lad, and thank you. And then that was it. Didn't come across anyone all summer.
No.
And it's only because of my injury I was in early for pre-season that you started seeing Belfield started getting a little bit, touching up a little bit. The floor was getting done. And then bumped into a guy walking around with a clipboard, didn't know who he was, and it was Archie Knox. It found out to be that he was up in the levels, and that's when we knew obviously Walter was going to be our new manager for pre-season, and that was a total sort of change from what we've had over the last few years.
Gonna say Walter Smith and Archie Knox, fearsome duo as their reputations were, and obviously it worked. There was a lot of change for you there when they come in. But what were they like? What were they initially like with you?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. They didn't like our dress sense. You know, I think we rocked up with a pair of shorts and flip-flops on day one. That changed. You know, you're going to work. I get why now because of the Rangers connection. That you're going to work, shirt and tie. So there was a few lads running to the shop to buy themselves on some new suits. But, you know, it's obviously middle of summer. You know, shirt.
So you have to come in with shirt and tie?
Shirt and tie, yeah.
For training?
Yeah, with Walter and Archie, yeah. It started easing off. Yeah. You know, you didn't have to wear a tie. You just had to be smart. Put your pants on, you're going to work. That was the mentality. And the reason behind that was Rangers at the time didn't have a training ground. So you had to report to Ibrox. So that's Ibrox was always shirt and tie. Okay. And then you transfer to wherever they used to go to train. So that's where his mentality was. But it's trying to lift the standards up a little bit. So it was always fun. You know,
no green was allowed in Belfield. I know that. I remember that.
Yeah. Some dodgy suits were flying about, and me included. There was Tom Davis got a run for his money back in them days. But it was good. It was hard. Training was different. But Archie had a script, and we had to go through it. But it was fair. You got it. You got what he was trying to implement. But there was a lot of change. There was a lot of players coming in, a lot of players leaving. You know, going back earlier on, I got into the first team dressing room. That was like sort of your tick where your YTS dressing room is. You got into the first team dressing room. Unfortunately, it's not that big. You know, so the lads who, I think it was me, Richard, I think Danny Cadd, Gavin McCann. There was a good few that, you know, you're under 21, put your hand up, get back. You know, get back to, even though you're a first team started or part of it all, we had to go back to the YTS dressing room, which we again, you with all your mates, you're having a ball, but you're not really getting to see what's going on. Course, you're not sort of getting a click of what's going on because of the new faces coming in. But it was change that it was enjoyable to be around because the bringing players in, that it makes you competitive again to prove a point, you know, to prove, well, you know, I'm going to still be a part of this, and standards rose. It did, and I think I was always in Walter's office for the good reasons. Always in there because he wanted more from me. He wanted me to be more demanding. Well, I was probably too demanding of my teammates. Nice. I used to probably give it to them too much. If they made a mistake, I would be very harsh on them. Because your standards high, you expect them to do what you think they should do, and not really put it across in a good way. And Walter enjoyed that, and he said do it more often. You know, test them, and concerned about my knee, concerned about my health, and as things developing through that, my knee was getting worse and worse.
Was it? When did that first start? Was it the Coventry game?
I don't think it was the initial kick of the Coventry game. Yeah. But it's sort of it's down to playing and training too much.
Was it? Yeah.
That's what the doctors first said. Even though I had the kick, it was a kick. You can get over that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Stitches, get over it. But it was the wear and tear. Playing for Saturdays in the Premier League at my age. But then I'll be flying with England for under 18s on a Thursday. I'll be travelling back to Belfield on a Friday, going Southampton away, you know, on a Saturday. He wanted to know my hours of training, which was new to me. You just want to train, you train. The players like Waggy used to give me some stick, you know, and wrapped in cotton wool. Walter will say, "Well, you're not training this week. You know, you come in and do what you can on a Thursday. You know, just recover." Didn't have the facilities they have now, but it's just be a part of it. And it was strange because I wouldn't say you get lazy. You're just getting like, well, I want to train, but if I can't train, what do you do? You're just moping around the place, really. You know, because you want to learn off the new players who've come in. I'm still developing. I'm still young, and I still want to learn everything. But he was focusing me on make sure you're right for the game. Do what you need to do to make yourself right for the game. And as a kid, you don't really know. You just think it's a game, you know. And that was good to know. And that happened for quite a good 18 months or so. Sort of making sure my knee was spot on, getting the rests, getting the injections when I could and when I needed to do, and it was just trying to get a balancing act. So I had a really good relationship with them all. Archie was brilliant to be around.
Yeah.
You know, he was harsh, but you knew he had a little smirk in the background. And you know, as soon as he said jump, everyone was like, how high? You know, you never got any easy days, but we were improving. We were getting fitter, and you just thought, you know, it's good time to be at Everton when you got a manager like that and an assistant who was pushing everyone, and that's what you want, you know. And then you can see some players will shrink over it because they're probably out of favour. That's all it is. But there's been new ones to come in who wanted to, you know, make us a much better team, and in moments we showed that. We showed it so many times in games where was it like West Ham ones where we used to stick out, you beating 5-0 or 6-0, you're thinking, you know, and then next week we throw it away. Yeah, there was just no consistency, and Goffey come in, the old players come in, and that was a running joke with everyone. You know, was anyone cashing in the pension were coming to our footy club. But when Richard Goff come in, I think that's when I really improved as an all-round player, because Goffey was a leader. Obviously, fantastic player still. Question marks over him only coming in, but he just bounced straight in. He knew how they tick. He knew how to keep them happy. You know, he played the game with Howard and with Walter and Archie. So we're all thinking, how's the teacher's pet getting away with it here? But he put performance in. Yeah. So then, he was superb. Again, Goffey pulled me to one side and said, "What you're saying's right, but you're not helping your teammates. You know, I was used to playing with Danny. You know, I knew Danny Cadamarchi. If I was nice to Danny, I won't get the best out of Danny. Yeah. You know, and if it was very harsh on Danny would react like a Tasmanian devil and rip teams apart, you know. But some characters are different, and I couldn't get that in my head at the time. So I've probably knocked a few players' confidence out with some choice words at times in training, and in matches. I didn't care who you were in the matches. I was always demanding in matches. That's it. And Oliver DeCourt used to look at me sometimes thinking, "Who's this lad?" You know, but it was just gonna, you know.
That was you making Materazzi cry then, was it?
Yeah, well, you know, like Marco was in training, you know, he was a unit, and the physicality of him, his left foot was brilliant, and it's just, I think the game didn't really suit him at that time. The Premier League style didn't really suit him. Archie used to have a little go because he let the ball bounce, and then he'd win the ball, he'd win the battle, he'd Chester, he'd win the header. But I think I remember little Alan Smith, you know, read him a little bit, and Archie went off his head, you know, and Marco couldn't understand it. It was just the English way, but you know, Bakayoko come to the club. That was a battle every day in training. He was brilliant in training. He was very difficult. He was raw. He was elbows, knees. He was causing a lot of issues. Him and Unzi always used to have a tussle, you know, because he'll bite back. You know, Unzi wouldn't hold back. He wouldn't hold back, and vice versa with myself. And that little story when I was away with England, I think I was rooming with Stephen, and the derby was coming up in a couple of weeks, and I said, maybe you've got some player, you know, he's gonna rip you apart and give him some stick. And he's like, oh, so will we. I can't remember, maybe Titi Kamara or something like that. You know, we're thinking, oh, these are going to rip us apart. And then match day, it just didn't seem to work for Ibrahim. But in training, which was good in a way, because it kept our standards up. You know, he got frustrated, obviously, because he couldn't do what he wanted to do on a Saturday for one reason or another. But in training, he was a handful, and it was physical. There was blood flowing. There was the full it. And Archie, Walter loved it. Yeah, they loved all that. You know, and it was a learning curve, because then when Walter would pull me in and go, look, you're not a young lad anymore. You know, you've got to become a leader. You've got to be, you know, you look after yourself. You've got to do the right things. You know, I didn't drink back then. You know, if you did drink, it's a couple of bottles of Bud, if that. You know what I mean? It's not like the old school ways that I used to be getting involved in. But it was just trying to curve me around of the future. You know, what's to be demanding. When you're a youngster at Everton, you know, the fans will forgive you for mistakes. They will do. They'll back you to the hilt. But when you're being a part of it now for a good few years, you know, expectations will rise. They want more from you, and it was just to give me that drive all the time. So that was good that the manager had time, even for myself. Even though the older boys were there, we weren't doing well at times. We'll have team meetings. Goffey will pull a team meeting in, and say, "Look, lads, we've done all this last year, and we were flying. We were doing well. You know, we were 8th or 9th in the league, going up. Nothing's changed." training sessions hasn't changed. It's the same script that Archie's used for 20 years. It's not going to change. It's down to us, our mentality. If you feel you've lost the manager, play well and get out of it. Because no one's going to take you if you're moping about. And I used to love that. And you go round everyone, what do you think? And, some players wouldn't say anything. And he'll point out to me and I'll just say, why are we talking about it? Let's go out and do it. We can talk about it. We've addressed it. There's no coaching staff involved in these meetings. And that gives us a bit of a buzz, and then we ended up getting some good results after that. But that was all down to Goffey wasn't playing then. I think he was injured. But he could see us going down a slippery slope and he wanted us to sort of... He could see the warning signs, and he didn't want to be going into the summer, as he explained, of thinking what could we have done. And, as a a senior pro, he pulled that, and they're things he could take on board. We had some senior pros there, wouldn't have the minerals to do what he was doing. They're probably just happy to be a part of it, basically. But Goffey wanted more. He wanted to demand more from everyone, and he spent a lot of time with the youngsters, Goffey, to make us fitter. So he was, I'm playing alongside him. He wasn't a ranting and raver. He just spoke through your game, and I think playing alongside him, he was composed on the ball. I like to be composed on the ball, and we just had a good little balancing act, and I just really come into my own then. But that was when a lot of rumours about my future was happening, which I didn't really get where they come from, because Walter said, look, I speak to Alex Ferguson all the time. It's not true what's in the papers. That's not happening. My question is, why are you buying left backs every 2 minutes? I think that's where it was coming from. 25, his first number, and you got the 3. That's probably me pushing Jimmy Martin a bit more. Come on, give it to me. Get the number 3. Then we signed Pistone, and obviously he demanded the number 3, so I've gone to number 12. I mean, who wants 12? I don't want 12. But look, it's there's sort of stupid little things like that. So it's like, right, okay, you got to wait for the opportunity again. They brought Gary Naismith in. I'm thinking, not just for myself. I'm thinking we don't need 3 left backs. He brought Unzi back, so there's 4 left backs. Supposedly, the way Walter'd like to play. He had Richard Dunn playing right wing back at times. So I'm thinking,
6 centre backs.
Where am I playing here? If I'm the future, why are we buying 3 left backs? So that was in my head. But Walter wanted me to play centre half, and that's when playing alongside David Weir and Richard Goff was probably my best career, especially at Everton. But I had to bide my time. I had to wait for my opportunity. And I remember on the bench, I think we played Southampton at Goodison. I come on, and we got given a penalty, and that was it, straight over. I thought, I'm taking this. One, I haven't scored in the Gladys Street, and then I sort of knew the goalkeeper knew my record when I've scored against Middlesbrough before in the past. Was what Newcastle hadn't happened then, but I normally go to the keeper's right, and I went the opposite way. So it was a gamble for myself, but then just getting that goal in the Gladys Street was a tick. But then it's just to prove to Walter that I'm not going anywhere type thing. It was sort of a game on attitude, and that was probably what I needed as well, because maybe before then I probably thought deep down I'm still going to play or be a part of it, so I probably needed that kick up the backside to sort of push myself to get ahead of Pistone or get ahead of Gary Naismith or Unzi or whoever's playing left side. I just wanted to be part of that 11. But from that game, then that's when Walter sort of really backed me again, and I got back into the side.
So you've gone from that, and obviously you're talking very positively about Walter Smith and Artie Knock. So how did you end up leaving then? Because it comes as a shock to us as I know there's noise, but there's always noise for our players and good players because we weren't winning stuff. And you were obviously one of our own. You were one who I think the fans loved that. You local lad, big Evertonian, hell of a player, centre back, smallish for a centre back, but brilliant ball player. England were looking, and no, you did make your debut for England. For us, you were going to be our captain. That was like the future, and then all of a sudden this noise gets bigger and bigger. And from a fan perspective, and I was working at Everton at the time, you were painted as the bad guy. It was like, he must want out, he won't sign, doesn't want to stay. I remember your brother was working at ticket office, and your brother used to come down and get tickets and be like, what's happening? And he's like, he doesn't want to go. And like, Everywhere, everything is telling us he wants to leave. So what happened?
Well, for myself, it wasn't frustrating because nothing was happening.
Yeah.
But me dad, and like my dad's 1 and 9, and they're all Blues, all season ticket holders, and they used to get phone calls, what's happening? And my dad was frustrated with the press.
Yeah.
There was a lot of leaks. A lot of leaks were happening. I still get stick now in the park end. A few weeks ago, a lad walked over to me and said something about what? And he went, laughing on the coach. I'm going, what are you on about? So there was a lot of stuff that I know happened on the other side of the park, happened and never got leaked out. That leak started happening, and I don't know where from.
Right, okay.
And the only thing that happened was from inside our changing room or inside our bus. You know, so the laughing on the bus thing, that got blown up like a massive big story. That I'm happy that I don't think we got beat. I think to get beat or draw against Bristol City. It was a poor result, poor performance. And then the way that happened, we got on the coach. Alan Myers was there. He was giving the food out. Archie shouted, "No one's allowed food." We go, here we go. And I was normally sitting at the back. Normally play cards with the boys at the back. You know, relax, have a game of cards, and have a laugh and a banter, whatever. Obviously the result happened the way it was. Didn't want to sit at the back. Sat at the front next to the staff, next to Jimmy Comer. You know, and me and Donny just sitting there, just sitting there talking. Disappointed what's gone on. And then Jimmy starts telling the story about X, Y, and Z in school, and you have a little giggle, and then that's it. The Archie Knox comes out, and he comes over, rants at raves. You go, well, it's a bit harsh, but you take it. I think as the journey went on, I think I pulled him, and he's like, yeah, don't worry about it, like, whatever. Yeah. Because he knew the back of the bus is still carrying on as normal. So they it's that's stuff they want to unwind that way, fine. But off on that bus, there was only half the squad on the bus. Half the players stayed down there to go to London or whatever, could do it off the next day. So by the time you get home, and back then it was all. It was in the newspaper by the next day that Michael Ball's laughing on the bus after the result. So I'm going, well, who's leaked that? Yeah. So it's only going to be people on this bus who've done that. Then we had the famous one of the New Year when apparently never turned up for training. When I've had one before then. I had a party, had the christening, and the neighbours knocked Walter Smith to say I had a party, pulled me in. I said, my son's christening, what are you on about? I said, you're having a party, a bit loud, but it wasn't till daft o'clock, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you're getting it, but Walter didn't seem that bothered as long as I was performing. So as long as you're training hard, working hard, which I still was. But these leaks started happening, and I didn't really care. Because I thought that's what it is. It'll go away. It's I think Duncan used to say, it's like fish and chip paper. It'll disappear. But it just seemed to stick for some reason. So the famous one was, I think it was New Year's Eve. I was a chest infection. I was off for all that week. I did say, look, I could be in. If I wake up, I'm up. I'll be in. Didn't phone in. Didn't feel I had to. They knew where I was. So that was basically it. So I got a phone call to be in the next morning. Dunny, me, Richie got in early doors, and there's Franny and Hutch already in there at like 7:30 in the morning. And you're thinking, what are you doing here? And they had a bit of a tussle in town. They had a bit of an incident, which Walter wasn't too happy with. Walter wasn't in the day before. He's only found out there's basically 4 of us aren't in training. And I think they turned up late to training because they're in a situation. So we were like, bloody hell, what's going on here? So I think all that blew up. I think Richard Dunn was on the front page of an Irish newspaper with us hanging off each limb. With the bad boys of the group. And Walter, he had to do something. He said, we've got a game tomorrow, so you can't play, you're not playing. So the papers sort of blew that up again. But again, it was sort of put to us differently than what was leaked in the media. Because then my dad's phoning me, then asking me what's going on. So you're explaining, he goes, well, why is it in the Echo? Why is it? It's all being blown up out of proportion, and it looked bad on that, but with the truth inside, the manager wasn't really that bothered. He just said, right, you can go home, and then when you come back in again, he said, well, it's the upstairs want to suspend you. I was like, what? Suspend me for what?
Mm-hmm.
So the club wanted to suspend us and fine us. And then what made it probably worse was our legal firm or our agents at the time probably thought they should step in, protect us, but it was a little bit too late, maybe. And maybe down to us being young, we trusted what his opinion. Back then, you can't be suspended and fined. It's illegal to do so.
Right.
So he wanted to tell the club, where to go. But then that found its way into the paper. So then it was only when it come down and said, look, just let's leave it. What we're going to get out of it, just let it go.
Yeah.
And that was all the nastiness. But when the football kicked back in again, you're back in the team, you're playing and everything's fine.
Yeah.
I was playing my best football. I think there was 12 or 13 supporters clubs. So I got player of the season, young and senior for everyone but one. Blue Kipper at the time, you remember that? Blue Kipper. They wanted to give me the award and said, look, every time we give someone this award, they leave. The past two, after being good. And I was like, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. We're talking contracts.
Yeah.
But there was no rush. I had 2 years left. There was nothing really to be talking about. It was only because of paper talk, the Man United thing. There was obviously the Liverpool thing. There was a lot of talk, but no one spoke to me about it. Walter Smith never pulled me in about X, Y, or Z. It was just the only time he's put his arm around me was about a lot of noise about Alex Ferguson, and he goes, look, me and Alex are very close, so look, there's nothing in that. You just concentrate and do what you're doing. I said, well, I'm staying here anyway. That's it. The summer, the season finished. I went on holiday with all my mates. Got a phone call. Trevor Stephen was my agent at the time. So, and then Trevor phoned me and said, look, the club want you in on Wednesday. Sort of contract. So I had a good celebration with the lads. I was just going to sign a new contract with the boys. Flew home Andy. Got to Goodison, the park end reception, and I was sitting there. There was no one there. And then a girl come out and said, we've had a message off the board. They've changed their mind. So that left me a little bit puzzled. Didn't really understand why, because no one's told me. Trevor couldn't get an answer, and it was basically down to the board have changed their mind of the situation. Which again, I wasn't really obviously disappointed, but thinking, I've got an 18 months, 2 years left, so I don't really get it. You know what I mean? As soon as I get back playing, I'll be fine. But then pre-season starts, and then that's when you're not wanted. Right. That's when I was again doing a little bit of rehab with my knee. Walter pulled me out of England under 21's Toulon tournament. Said, look, you need the rest. Probably had to speak to the FA a lot because they weren't happy with that situation. No. And that's something you want to be a part of, but I get it. I'm thinking, well, everything's the most important thing to me. If I get these 3 weeks rest, which was massive at the time, it's only going to benefit me. Come back, not involved in the first team, you're training individually. Then you think after 3 days I should be involved, but then I wasn't involved. And that's when you just knew. There was no meetings with Walter stopped. Normally it was always once or twice a week, come to my office, boy, and there was nothing. And that was it. That was all it was. He was speaking to the players. They didn't understand it. We brought a lot of Scottish lads down as well, and just they didn't really get what was going on. And I don't know whether it was Walter's opinion. You hear, I've heard different stories since. All I got told, if you stay here, lad, you're going to be you're going to rot in the reserves. And I had the World Cup, my eyes set on the World Cup 2002, and that's what everything was all going on. He knew that. So that was disappointing, but he never said that to me. It was more to maybe Trevor Stephen, to other people in and about this, is what, he wanted to move players on. He wanted to, and I felt I was the one getting picked on for this. And we've seen Walter in the past of getting rid of a lot of youth. I think back then, the youth team basically got dismantled. Everyone got moved on for quite a bit of money, and that should have been a good youth team to given an opportunity. And unfortunately, that never happened. So I was probably the last one sort of still hanging around. And they obviously, for one reason or another, didn't want me to be there. But again, I was just there for the fight. I've been in a situation a little bit, not forced out as much as that under Walter, that I thought, well, if I get back playing, I'll be back in, and I'll prove them wrong, and in a way outlast them.
Yeah,
I'll be here longer than you. That was my attitude.
Yeah.
Then the phone calls start happening then, because it's out there, the media's out there. Come and speak to me, Steve McLaren at Middlesbrough. And then Trevor was living in Scotland. He said, come up here for the weekend. You know, you're off for the weekend, go up and say, you know, just come up, get away from it all. Because the press was getting really... It wasn't say difficult, but it was just about a lot of nothing, because no one spoke to me. So I'm going, well, there's nothing there, so it's all untrue. Yeah. The rumours of me signing for X, Y, and Z were all untrue. You know, so there's nothing. All it is just I haven't signed a new contract, and that was down to them pulling it away from me. It was that was it. So again, my attitude is go up there, be fine, and then on the way up to Scotland, Trevor said, "Don't tell anyone, but Rangers want to speak to you." I was like, right, okay. He said, while you're up here, be nice, respectful. Go up, let's speak to them. And then we met at a service station, and Trevor turned up like someone from Men in Black, or black suit, black leather. I'm thinking, trying to be hiding out the way here, and got the opportunity to meet the Rangers. Not signing, I'm just being respectful. David Murray, learnt a lot about him. I didn't know, you know, he lost his legs at a young age, and he owned Man United and Rangers at the time, and he was telling me basically just doing a sales job, doing a sales pitch, and where Rangers want to be, and basically you start thinking, oh dear, you know, is this happening? You know, is what's happened with the clubs? And he went, oh yeah, they've agreed. I said, they've agreed 3. I went, who's the 3? And it was Middlesbrough, Liverpool and Rangers, and that was sort of a massive shock. I walked out of the boardroom then, because it was a bit like the first time I've heard that. Yeah. You know, where everyone else has. When everyone else has been in the press and I've been denying it all, it's the first time it's come across it. So Rangers said, well, because of our connection with Walter, you know, we're going to push this through. The manager wants you. Arthur Newman's the left back. He's not going to see the future, blah, blah, blah. And Champions League. Steve McLaren, I knew of him from England. Yeah. They were spending a lot of money to bring good players into Middlesbrough at the time. But there was no way I was playing against Everton. I just could not get my head round playing Everton at that age.
Liverpool.
Well, that was never going to happen. You know, it was never going to happen. Yeah. And I think they knew that. Yeah. I think Everton knew that. I think they knew that was never going to be, because I think they offered more money than the rest. You know, but I think Everton were trying to up the price from Rangers, and I think we'll probably find out why 2 balloons and a goldfish. I think it ended up going for in the end. But so that was leaving Rangers. It was sort of, wow, yes, I verbally agreed to sign. Had to come back to Belfield, and it was sort of, I was in probably a bit of a daze for a long time. Drove back to Belfield, had to get me stuff, had to pick up my boots, say goodbyes, tearful. But then spoke to Alex Cledland, David Weir, you know, Coffey, Gazza, Jimmy Bellies even, just about before the sign on that dotted line, you know, what's it all about? And they, John Collins, you know, they had all great things to say. Howard Wilkinson was the England manager at the time, under 21s. He said it's going to develop me. He said you've been sort of stagnant, you've been brilliant defensively, but you've lost your defensive side of your game. He said being at a club like Rangers will bring that on, winning week in, week out, playing in Champions League will bring it on. So it's sort of ticking the boxes a little bit. But you're just thinking, will he change their mind now? Yeah. You know, will he offer me that contract again? Because, you know, definitely would have just signed it. Yeah. You know, and it just never happened. And signing for Rangers, both sides, my medical went on for over 2.5 weeks. So there was a massive gap for Everton to come calling. Yeah. And he just never. And if you look back, they were covered in that position, you know, and they're getting a lot of money. Yeah. You know, and you get it, but it's because it's you, and it's my dream to be the captain. Yeah. Because in the contract, that's what we're talking about. It's, well, I'm going to be the captain in the next couple of years. It was all about the future. Yeah. And that's getting it taken away from you. You wanted a testimonial. You wanted all that stuff, and your kid you're dreaming about. So that's been took away. So that was really difficult to take. But then doing the medical at Rangers. There was no medical reports from the club, so they had to start at scratch. They had to test me. I'm flying-ish, but the doctor knew there was something wrong. They had, Rangers had a full-time doctor, a Dutch doctor. Everton's doctor was based in Rodney Street. You had to go and visit him, and there was all like a massive club set up really well. The manager was tough, but very experienced and very, very demanding.
Advocaat.
Yeah, Dick Advocaat he was, and obviously had Dutch players with all their half and the balls and stuff.
Yeah.
And, well, we had the training was a whole new level.
Was it?
It was like wow, and it was like in a mindset you think you go to Scotland it's going to be a little bit easier, but training wasn't. Training was not. You can hit you. You're training against the ball. You're playing against Tory Andrew Flow. It was like, these are some team, and these are struggling because these want to be going for runs in Champions League, so they're buying more players and they're bringing better teams. And so you're thinking, I want to be a part of this, but I couldn't train with them all the time for one of insurance and in knees. So there was a lot of mess going on, and it was frustrating because you're thinking, is Everton going to call? But then at the same time, you think Rangers are going to pull the plug. Yeah, and then I've got to go back. Both of us not really wanting each other. That would have been a sickener. That was the sickener. And fortunately for me, doing physio work and the chairman at the time was good mates with Sean O'Connery. He was around the place quite a lot, and he just drove onto the pitch and told me to get in. And he drove over to the staff room, basically where the chairman was, and he goes like, we're all agreed with Everton. Spoke to the club. We lost out on John Hartson last year over a medical issue. Even though Everton have been a little bit underhanded here, we're gonna take the chance with you. And based on what Walter Smith said, Walter said nothing to me, but obviously they had a massive relationship with Rangers and with the chairman, so we're proceeding. And you don't normally get told finances of what goes on between the club, but it was basically all appearance based. It was a lump sum down. There was 5.5, 6.5, and it goes up to 7. I think basically flipping coins for appearances and stuff. So I was like, and the steal out of Goodison was part of the deal. And I was like, you do know Goodison's mostly wood, no, because he was a steel magnate, David Murray. That was his business. That's what he was very successful to throw his money into Rangers Football Club, and he threw a lot in. And that's what he said. He said, we've agreed, and then when Goodison goes down, I'll be taking over the steel. So I was thinking 2 balloons and a goldfish. That was how that happened, and it was joyful, but mixed emotions. Like, it's done now. Like I can sort of kick on this, so that's gone. But devastated it's happened, but there's not much you can do. You just got to get on with it. And that was sort of my first sort of negative side of how football works, the nasty side of you're just a number at the end of the day. Yeah, and you've got used as a number.
The Rangers stuff, colourful. Had to go with Dick Advocaat when you were subbed. Yeah. Got a 10 grand fine, allegedly. Yeah. In an Old Firm game.
My first one.
What was that about?
That my first Old Firm game. Obviously the build-up derbies are massive up there. You've got every tabloid under the sun is just all about Celtic Rangers. Here we might have had the Daily Post and Liverpool Echo and maybe 1 or 2 nationals every so often. But every national papers, it's 6-7 pages deep on each team, and it's big noise. And then obviously because I've had the Merseyside derby experience, you're a part of it all. Do you want to know the difference? And I was just can't wait for it. Love derbies. I had a half decent record, so I fancied myself. And it was a frustrating game there where we were the better side, but we just couldn't score, and we were getting beat. So as the left back, you're getting hooked off, and I could see me sign coming up, and because you're the new boy, you want to impress the crowd, you want to impress your teammates, and the decision was right, probably, because that's what you do. You take off a full back and you bring on a forward player to get yourself back into the game. And my roommate ended up coming on Peter Lundgren and scoring, so his decision was spot on. But I was just over keen. The occasions probably got to me where you think you should be able to handle an occasion. It was just because things were going wrong, and it shouldn't have. We were much the better side, finding ourselves to it, and I wanted to get be part of that team to get us back into the game. I didn't want to be that left back in the change room coming off job, you know, and I was just so frustrated for the wrong reasons. And he said a few choice words. I said a few choice words back to him, and then that was it. And then Monday morning, obviously it blew up in the papers, you know, pictures of me telling him where to go and he's telling me where to go, and it was because no one really had a really close relationship with him. He was like a general, besides the captain, you know, that's probably the only person you'd speak to, so you'd always want to impress him. So I'd done pretty well.
You hadn't impressed him at this point,
and I blew it all, you know, at this moment. So I was like, oh, how was this going to handle it? And we come in, I had to go to his office, and it's surreal, like what goes on in football. And you're thinking, right, I'll have to just sort of bite my tongue and just take it. You know, I was wrong. He was wrong, in my opinion, what he said. You know, but and I've reacted badly. So it's the combination of everything. You think, I'm going to get out of this one. And we sat in his office. There was John Gregg, who obviously a massive Rangers legend. He was part of the coaching staff. Yeah. And there was me, John Gregg, and the manager, and the big phone in the middle, waiting for the chairman to call. Oh. And he just spoke to us brilliantly. He just said, loving the attitude. Obviously, overstepped the line. There's a Cash for Kids charity going at the radio station. We have one here at Radio City. Yeah. He said, look, I can't do nothing. He said, so we'll throw some money to them. You two shake hands, speak about it, and I'll let you go. So that was it. Yeah. Problem was, the manager's Scouse wasn't very good. My Dutch wasn't very good. Neither is John Gregg's Scouse wasn't very good. So there's the three of us. I can't understand John Gregg. He can't understand me. And we were just we just laughed. We just had a little giggle because we knew when I was talking they couldn't take it all in. Advocaat just shook hands, smacked me across the head. See you tomorrow. Yeah. Train. John Gregg walked out. He was left-sided, so he had a bit of a soft spot for me. So, and that was it. Done, dusted. Played the next game, and then that was it. All forgotten. But I put the club in a bad light. You know, it's like, the way the media put it up there. I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. You know, instead of doing that in the changing room, I've done it in full flow. Paid the price for it, but it was good for the manager and myself, and learning curve for me. But then for him to pick me next week and then get the Champions League goals and still be a part of it was good. But we were struggling. We were a struggling side. So I think the frustration for him, seeing that we were struggling. Yeah. And struggling means being a point, 2 points behind Celtic. Yeah. You know, and you know, I think there was a part where we were unbeaten, but we kept on drawing too many games, and the gap was getting bigger. And unfortunately, Dick and his coaching staff got relieved of the duties not far after. But I got injured very, very early. Yeah. Against Dundee, I think it was. Dundee, yeah. You'd already scored your first goal for Rangers against Kiev. Dynamo Kiev. Yeah, free kick. Yeah. Free kick. Well, I would say top bin, but more like a pinball, couple of deflections, but I'm taking it. Take the top bin. I'm taking it, you know, and that was down to the players. The players said, you're on them. Yeah. I was like, well, I took a free kick for Everton's first team, really, you know, so the left foot one, mate, that's the pressure coming to the Sheedy days, come back to in my youth. So that was obviously get good, but my knee didn't feel, when you're playing, you don't feel anything. You didn't feel, you don't, it's just the day after recovery, a little bit of swelling. But thinking, I've been here before with Everton, 18 months, you can't get player of the year and have a bad knee. No. You can't play in the Premier League with a bad knee. You get found out. But it probably was down to the injections. The injections is probably why Everton did turn down or pull the contract away. Yeah. In hindsight, looking back now, they probably thought they knew something wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to take the gamble. If they got a choice to take the money, which is fair play, that's up to them. But personally, for me, it hurts. Yeah. Still hurts now, doesn't it? Yeah, massively. But what can you do? You know, you just got to get on with it. And Rangers have put a lot of faith in you. Yeah. So you've got to pay back that faith, and the fans. Out for 18 months, is that right? Yeah, that was really hard to swallow because. Yeah. Did you keep getting back and then it was going again? Got back, but the way so I got injured just before the Christmas period. Yeah. I went to, this is what I got to give credit for Rangers for, you know, being at the club at Everton, medically we didn't have the money to go and see the best specialist. We wouldn't get an X-ray. It would just be time. It'd be ice and whatever it was back then. And that's just the way it was. You didn't know any different. Because of Rangers medical staff, they knew that a full-time medical staff, full-time doctor, and it was just before Christmas where they phoned up Dr. Stedman, who was the #1 knee surgeon.
Yeah.
It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to be difficult. Flew out there, met him, wonderful guy, very old, thinking but looks on one. The tan, the teeth, the full it, and he had a fantastic clinic in Vail, Colorado, and shirts on the wall, Ronaldo's. You see everyone who he's done in the past. So you're in good hands. Rangers sent me in a club doctor who's Dutch with a credit card, just get it sorted. And he'd done a few tests on me. He said, "You're fine." I said, "Well, I hope so, but I've been doing this for 18 months." And he goes, "Well, I'm going to give you the scan one more time." And then within the result of the scan, he threw me in the operation theatre. He went, like, "How are you doing certain exercises?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I'll just do."
I'll just do it.
He goes, "Something's not right." And that's when I went, "Oh, okay." Doctor, obviously, I've got to sign the paperwork to say, let's get it done. That happened. He come in afterwards, said, "Operation brilliant." He said, "Have you had injections?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where have you had them?" I said, "In my knee." He goes, "No, but where and how have they been administrated?" I went, "Well, a marker pen." He just say, where you saw, and this is your point, and they put a knee in. And he went, and he looked at my doctor, and my doctor went, "Nothing to do with us." Normally if you do an injection, which again, look, you're in doctor's hands, you listen to,
of course,
what happens. They put it through an ultrasound so you can see where the injection's going. The ones at Everton were blind. They weren't at Everton. They were in Western Hospital. Remember the first one? I was in agony. And I drove. I had to phone a friend up to come pick me up. And 4 or 5 days really sore. And then it winds down and then you're fine again. So when I went for my second one, I mentioned I couldn't walk for a few days, that really hurt. And he goes, "No, you'll be fine." I said, "No, but I wasn't. I was really sore." I said, "I had to walk off crutches." He went, "No, you never." I said, "It is." I said, "I had to have crutches." He said, "Oh, no, it's just the fluid, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Right, okay." So you listen to medical advice, so you do it. But that's what made me do what I could do. That was hiding the fact that I could do certain exercises, and that's why Rangers probably went, "There's something wrong, but he's doing what I'm asking him, so I can't say no." Same as the surgeon. So the crystallisations, it tore through me tendon. So it wasn't, even though I ripped a little bit of my tendon, probably playing and overplaying, that's crystallised inside my tendon, so it started killing all my tendons. He said, "You've got one fresh, thin strand left." He said, that went, that was it, your career's over. He said, "You're going to struggle." He said, "But, I'm confident. If you listen to what I say, don't train too hard, don't do nothing. I'll give you a rehab programme, and go back and you'll be back." So I was like, well, if you've got these players playing, confident, flew back, and then that was the rehab kicked in, and I was flying. He was brilliant. I had his own personal number. You could speak to him, explain, "I'm doing this." He's go, "Right, that's good, but don't do any more. Just keep doing that." I was on the pitch after 3.5, 4 months. He did say, "Look, it's going to take 5 to 12 months.
Did he?
So that's where you're at.
Yeah.
He said, "It's all about your rehab."
Yeah.
He said, "Your knee's fine." 3.5, 4 months I'm running. And just the way the season finished, I've missed everything.
Yeah.
So that was really a bit frustrating. But then you're thinking, got the summer to sort of get myself ready for pre-season. Started pre-season with the first team. But when I started getting to 90% and sprints, after a couple of days, it'll sort of blow up a little bit. It was just it wasn't painful, but just the movement wasn't there. So you stop starting, and they said, "I know what's happened." I said, "I know what's happened. You just have to come back over." So that was in the summer then. So problem with that situation was you're back to square one. The recovery is exactly the same. He said he opened me up. Basically, the sheath over your knee it makes you move. It just grew back a little bit too thick, so it was rubbing.
Okay.
So the actual mechanics you need spot on. It's just that skin's too tight. I just need to lift it up and put it back looser. But unfortunately, your rehab is going to be exactly the same. So that was a kick in the teeth, obviously. But then you're thinking, well, my knee's fine.
Yeah.
You know, when I get back fit, I'll be flying.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for me, Rangers were struggling. Like, you wanted to be part of it. You start pushing yourself a little bit, but then they started doing well. They started playing really well, and there was no rush for me.
Right, okay.
So it's sort of, while it frustrated me, you wanted to be a part of it. I probably could have played near the end of that season.
Right,
I probably could have been a part of it.
Yeah.
But it got tense. They won the cup, they won the League Cup, and it went down to the last game. Mikel scored penalty, Mikel Arteta, to win the league. So the manager didn't want to take a risk.
Yeah, of course.
I obviously wanted to be a part of it, but then also didn't want to jump on the bandwagon and take the credit for winning the title, which is, again, a reason why I went up there, to win trophies. So you're thinking, well, I've been here 2 years, I haven't done nothing. I haven't done nothing yet. And that was frustrating. But so that was all hard to take. But the rehab, the medical staff, the finance of Rangers being able to do everything is what I've got a lot of, pride. And it's they could have took another option, but I wouldn't have played football if it wasn't for their decision, later on in my career after leaving Rangers. So, so then the following year, Alex McLeish comes in. The football club, well, actually was in while I was injured, but I couldn't play under. They won the treble, and then a lot of players moved on. The big hitters all moved on. Yeah, financially they were really struggling, but I didn't really care. It was like my time to shine. It was my moments of actually, being here nearly 2 years now. And I haven't had a chance to play football and show everyone what I can do. So that started happening. My first month back after being out, I got player of the month. Mikel got young player of the month. We were doing well, and I think I might have played 42, 44 games back to back. So it was really sort of made up. That season for Rangers fans wasn't good, because we didn't have nothing to show for it. But personally, it was. For me, it was just like my knees ready. Yeah, I'm fine. And I get Scottish football now. I've had the experience of playing in the season. We didn't win anything. So the following season was all about putting the marker down and trying to win things, which luckily enough, a bit of stroke of luck, we ended up getting a double and had the famous helicopter Sunday, which, if no one knows what that is when, the title was going the other way until drastic moments happened against Celtic. The helicopter to turn around and take the ribbons off and put it blue and white. And look, I'll take any title the way it is. We probably didn't deserve. Well, we did deserve it because we won it at the end of the day. But it was, we were chasing shadows all that season, but we finally got it at the last game of the season. So that was again emotional. But it was sort of like, it'd been waiting that long to win something. To finally do something as senior pro was good. Got the double, but I missed a massive part of that story. Was when they couldn't play me anymore.
I'm gonna say, I've got it down here. You're flying, and then there's issues with the contract because 60 appearances means another 500,000 to Everton. So Rangers stopped playing you, and you're playing really well. It
was very frustrating because you're part of it. The manager wants you to play. You're training every day. You could train like Maradona, did make a difference at the weekend.
And you're feeling good at this point.
Felt good. Yeah, everything was perfect. When you're just hoping a solution can happen. And it was, I could be bitter towards Rangers by going, well, that's a contract, honour it.
You signed, yeah.
But again, there's talks of, was it 60 games? Was it 50? Was it there? Again, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of all that situation. It's only what you hear in the media. But again, that went on for far too long. And going to Rocks before the home game, you just wishing the lads well, you're in the suit, and then you get the call, the chairman wants you upstairs. So you go up to the chairman, he comes up with this solution to go, look, we can't afford to pay these instalments. We might speak to Everton to see if we can come up with a solution. Will you go 50-50 with us? And I was like, what's that mean? And he goes, well, I'm going to ask Everton, instead of paying X amount on X amount of games, can we start paying you now in small instalments so we can get you back on the pitch? He said, because if you don't play football for this club, and in 2 years' time, you've been in Scottish football for 4 years and not really done anything. Or we can take the opportunity now to go, well, let's see if Everton will agree. Again, I don't know if that communication happened. I didn't speak to anyone at Everton. There's been rumours I've spoke to Everton about it. I never have done. Right. But it was David Murray's idea to go, look, at the end of the day, we want you on the pitch. We want you to help with chasing Celtic. If I can come to an agreement that you lower your wages, I'll take $4,000 a week out of your wage, or $4,000 a game out of your wages. I'll do the same. I'll put it in a pot and give it to Everton if you hit the target. So again, I don't know if the target even got hit. I don't know what the target was. But I was like, yeah, fine. Do whatever we need to do to resolve this issue, because it's not helping anyone. So come down. Alex McLeish said, what did he say? And he said, I can play, so get tripped. I was like, what? I was like, all right. So mindset, obviously not expecting it.
Course,
probably ate a bit too much the night before. So that's
having the curry the night before.
So then you made up. But the problem is things like that frustrates me, because Everton done the same. They said there was no money, but they bought 2 or 3 left backs. Rangers done the same thing, and then they had, I think they brought Gregory Rignan on loan. They brought a left back from Italy at the time. So you're thinking, well, there must be money somewhere, But at the end of the day, that's not my. It was up to me to prove a point. And on the bench, got stripped, and then, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 minutes before the game was finishing, Alex told me to get changed, get on the pitch. Nice welcome from the fans. That was nice to see. Basically took a throw in, final whistle. Won the game, made up to be a part of it, and just said to the gaffer, that throw-in just cost me $4,000. And he went, what do you mean? And I went, oh yeah, he doesn't know. No, he doesn't know. And so that was all a little bit of a laughing joke.
But that's
for a good week.
Credit for you though. I know you want to play and you want to prove a point, but you didn't have to do that.
No, I did. I could have turned that, but no, it wasn't even in my mindset. It's only when
but some players
they do. Well, we've seen it happen at our place, haven't we? There's been a couple of players who've been, but that didn't come to me thinking. It was just like, no, that's fine, whatever. It doesn't really
just get me back.
You want to play football, so that was it. It's only mindset. Now you think back, there's other ways they should have honoured their contract. Both clubs should have done different, but that didn't even come to me thinking back then. It was just back playing, and then we had a laughing and joke about the money situation. I think that helped me with the fans a little bit, because obviously it cost them a lot of money. I delivered nothing for them. So that ticked a little bit to go, look, at least I'm trying to do what I can. And then to finally get the title, that's why, it probably meant a lot more.
Well, you got a title on a League Cup as well, didn't you, in that as well? So And then you leave Rangers for PSV, which is another one. It's a bit, Everton to Glasgow
it's very
to Eindhoven.
It's not how you dream as a kid, is it? It was.
But brave though, because again, 2005, not many people were going up. But we had a lot of players coming internationally into England and Scotland. But
my brother said I started the trend.
That's it. Not so many going.
My dad wasn't too happy. It's all on the TV nowadays, isn't it?
You can see nothing then.
Back and forth, but again, that was just out the blue. In my head, I knew Rangers were struggling, but started pre-season, and it was only the ownership turned a little bit. Chief executive changed, and Newcastle was showing interest. Graham Souness was the manager, but I felt that was more the relationship with David Murray and Graham Souness more than Graham Souness wanting me.
I don't know. He wanted you as a kid.
He very remembered me or not, I don't know. But then it was, that was an opportunity. But it was more like you could sense it was like, let's see how you get on type thing. Let's test your knee, And Birmingham were the bigger ones. But I said to her, I'll stay. I said, I'll stay. I said, just take that 3 times a week at my wage. I'll stay. And you can see McLeish was really like, can we do it type thing. Their club couldn't. There was a no-go. I don't know whether it's illegal, if they can do it, to be honest. But it wasn't an option. And Birmingham and Trevor Steven were talking for quite a while. There was Gold and Sullivan. Steve Bruce was the manager. 3-year deal was sort of on the table. and back home-ish, they just signed Nicky Butt. I could travel in with Nicky Butt, and so I hadn't spoke to anyone. It was just what they're getting relayed back to your agent, and you think, right, that's fine. But Gold & Sullivan went on the missing list for a while. I think they went hiking or something, and Rangers were getting a bit desperate, thinking, hang on, the transfer window's coming up. What's happening? Michael, what are you doing? I said, nothing, I don't know. I'm still here.
Yeah.
So they were getting a bit nervy. But then the call rang and he said, look, it's not the 3-year deal, it's just a 1-year deal. And you're like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
And you go, right, fine, that's it. So left the house in Glasgow, said ta-ra to the family, got in the car to the airport, supposedly to fly to Birmingham, and then Gus Hiddink phoned you in the car. And you're speaking to Gus Hiddink, and he says all the things that you want as a player. He obviously been there, done it, knows exactly what to say. And it was all down to the same game that Graham Souness wasn't so sure about. We played Alkmaar in the Champions League, and he said, I've seen it, want yet. We just should have got to the European final last year. We got beaten away by AC Milan, who went on to play you know who that year. And PSV sold the left back to Tottenham, so they were short. He said, you'll fit right in. I'll develop you. I'll get you back in the national team. I know a lot about you through Jan Wouters, who you don't know Jan Wouters. He's the one who elbowed Paul Gascoigne. But Jan was my coach at Rangers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there was a connection there. Yeah, and obviously the Dutch was massive at Rangers at the time with Advocaat, so they knew a lot of me.
Yeah.
But it was down to the goalie more than anyone. Our goalkeeper at Rangers, Waterus, who was a PSV legend, lived there, was in and around the changing room when they were struggling to find a left back, and he's the one who said, take a look at this boy. And he said all the right things, got to the airport. Trevor's like, well, how are we going to get to Holland? I don't know. And I said, oh, what are we going to do? And I said, well, Champions League. It's PSV, it's Champions League. Birmingham, I think they're in the Premier League, but they're struggling. The thought of being home was a bonus, but that wasn't important to me. It was the importance of being around good players. The team are like fantastic, great experience. But what made me smirk was Aruna's first interview. My interview was the same old bland, glad to be here, hoping I can achieve something and add something to the table. Aruna's was, he welcomed everyone with a big bunch of flowers. I didn't think of that. He's got one on me there, well done.
Yeah, he's one up.
But it's a European thing, which they do, which I didn't notice. I blame Trevor for that one.
Yeah,
I look bad here, Trev.
And he played in Marseille. He should have known from France. Yeah.
And his first sort of interview was brave. I think many fans in England probably wouldn't take to it, but it sort of got they understood it, and I think the Dutch understood it. He's like, I've come here for 18 months, 2 years. I'm going to move on to one day a bigger team, and then one day a better team like Man United, Barcelona. That's their mindset, and they took that and goes. PSV go, yeah, we're happy with that. That's what we want to do with every player. Yeah. Even though the fans would like to keep the players, it's only when you see all the legends round the stadium of who they've helped, players who I didn't understand that were there. Rudolph was there, Jaap Stam, but the bigger ones, Romario, Ronaldo, and the talk. There's a guy there called Mart. He's like everything. He's the masseur. He's everything. He's the team manager, but loves to be a part. He's probably had every job at the club, but he's the team manager now, and the stories he used to come out with was brilliant. Bobby Robson will come and visit. It was a dead family club, but similar to Rangers, where you had to win. You had to win well. If you weren't 1 or 2-0 up after half an hour, they'll let you know, and you had to play football.
Wow. You
had to keep the ball on the floor, and that's where Gus Hiddink was. I learned a lot about my game going to Holland, because I probably tried to play this the way I always knew. I knew all the different training methods of how, like, the Dutch work. Yeah. With but Advocaat, the training methods were similar. Yeah. But the pressure of playing in Holland is vice versa than the Premier League. Where the Premier League is all tempo and training's all about relaxing and recover. They're the other way around a little bit. Training was really hard. Training's open. All the fans can come in to your sessions. They believe 4-3-3, your style is the right way to play total football.
Yeah.
So they're never going to change. So your fans, they're always the same fans. You think, do they work? But it was great to see because you had to put a show on.
Yeah.
You put a show on. You do all the tactics. You do a little bit of running. It was all ball work. It wasn't just for show. It's like probably Archie's full page in one day.
Yeah.
That's what he basically had to do. But it was enjoyable, but it was different from what I grew up the English way, where we probably say create the pitch bigger. They'll do the opposite.
Yeah,
it was the other way around. It's easy to pass to each other if you're closer. Keep the ball on the floor. There was a moment which I panicked a little bit where I wasn't the tallest. I never went forward for corners, even though I was all right in my youth. Senior level, I was nowhere getting a chance of going up. So I was always the guy, last man, defending. Say it would be Ryan Babel maybe, and I'm trying to scream for someone else to sit in front, like we do in England, 2v1, overloaded.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking at me like I've got 10 heads, and you had to wait till half time to speak to the manager to explain your concerns. He went, "Why?" I was like, "What do you mean, why?" And I said, "Because it's 1v1. He goes, "You've got a goalkeeper. It's 2v1.
Wow.
He said, "If that keeper catches the ball and kicks the ball 60 yards, he controls it, turns, takes you on and scores past the keeper, you're both coming off." I was like, "Oh, okay." But I was brought up of prevention.
Yeah. Safety first.
First. They really believed in your own ability. And they said, if you defend properly, he won't get past you. I'm thinking, he's rapid. If he spins,
he was quick.
And if he hits it over my head, the keeper's got to be switched on.
Yeah.
So you're like, wow, they really believe in what you can bring to the table, but you've got to trust your teammates. And that was sometimes in my career, I probably missed out. Tried to go for the long ball, probably go for the David Beckham, because I think that might punish the team, and help us out. But then you're not trusting your midfielders.
No.
And that happened in the cup final. I did a bit of a 1-2. There's a moment where I see our striker was free. If I played it over the top, he lobbed the keeper, it hit the bar, it didn't go in, and it was just very casual by hitting, going, "Good ball, but don't do it again." I was like, "Why? You're surprising your own teammates." Yeah. He said, "He gets paid more money than you to assist, so pass it to him." And to him is Cocu, and he's played Timmy Simmons, the Belgian captain, and so you're like, okay, you get it. Yeah, I can do it. I've got it in my locker. You felt like you were penned in a little bit, but you're a left back for a reason. Yeah. They're midfielders, the strikers. There, you trust in your teammates, and it was very clicky, but it was good clicky. Yeah. I think in England in the past, especially internationals, you got probably slaughtered for being a bit the Manchester table, Liverpool table, and we couldn't really get a camaraderie. That was Holland all over. There was a Dutch table, there was a South American table. There was probably 10, 12 South Americans who couldn't speak English or Dutch. We were learning the language, a little bit, but you can't really understand it. The team meetings were all in Dutch. But you'll go around one by one and tell your job, and basically my job was to stop the winger, pass the midfield. Simple.
That's it.
Just simple.
So you know exactly what you do.
I just knew where I was. I just knew what I had to do. But the problem with Holland is these wingers are unknown. All South American, all fast.
Yeah.
It's 4-3-3, so you'd never have a day off where you're not against a winger, so you had to be at it.
Yeah.
That was your job, was just stop your winger and trust your teammates and have the ability to find your teammates. And I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. It was we won the league pretty easy. We won the league too early.
Right.
The situation where that happened was the second placed spot for the Champions League. They have a playoff between second, third, and fourth, fifth. So the winners win the league. So I think we won the league by 14th, 16th of April, and we basically had a month off, 4 or 5 weeks before the cup final.
Nice, yeah.
So they had the playoffs. Ajax finished fifth. Actually, in that they struggled that season. They won the playoff to get in the Champions League, but we also had to play Ajax in the cup final. We went to off subject. We went to Palma, lovely hotel. Lads playing golf, relaxing. We come home for a week or so, family. But then we started pre-season. We've done a bonding session. Yeah, Palma, lovely lads playing golf and training a little bit, getting back into the swing of things, focusing on the cup final a couple of weeks. I see signs from Magaluf going, is that Magaluf? I didn't realise of it because the way they pronounced Mallorca was different to where I thought it was going. And then I was like, Palma, Magaluf. So we all out the night out. I dragged all the lads to Magaluf.
As you do.
As you do. And it was just great to see people like Clivert and Cocu getting people on roller boots, giving them free leaflets for a free shot. Yeah. To go in
into our bar.
So they loved the experience, but then he went, we've got a Dutch version of this. So they took me to the Dutch version of a Magaluf for a little bit. Then we all got our heads screwed on and we went back to the nice part of town. And Michael Reisiger, he was obviously the Barcelona legend. He was adored and loved there. So he took charge, and we had a great night out. It was just great to be, I think the English look at the foreigners that they don't enjoy themselves. They're worse than us. I think the English, we just like our pint a little bit too much. They party. They love a party, and they enjoy themselves, but they're very focused. And that was coming back from that. We had a good week's training, going to the cup final, and that was probably one of my biggest disappointments that we never won that game. We battered them. They got this I always forget his names. The Dutch Sneijderlin? No.
Wesley Sneijder.
Yeah, Wesley Sneijder. He got sent off for them. So we've got to take a chance now, and then we got to play sent off. And then it was sorted down to my little error near the end. Huntelaar got the winner. I tried to clear it, come off him, it went in the goal. And they just sort of snatched and grabbed a cup final win. But that was a nightmare, really, killer, because we were a much better side, and we probably had that mindset that we'll win, you know. And I put it down to Ajax having a few more games than the build-up. And we didn't have anything.
Keep the intensity.
Yeah, and we never, and that's probably let us down. But we all went back to Eindhoven, had a celebration. The mindset of the Dutch is unbelievable. The winning mentality of them was sometimes, I think, too over the top, but it was good because that's all they know. That's all they think. Is it reality? I don't think it is. They were disappointed. They come back semi-final the World Cup. Their attitude was Gascoigne comes back with a pair of fake knockers and crying, and a hero's welcome. Our players didn't get any of that. There was disappointment. They're disappointed with that. I sort of get it. I get the bit where our games at PSV were always late on Saturdays. They always 6:30.
Yeah.
Very, very low key, but very strange. It's just their mentality was like be at the ground like an hour before kickoff. Now I'm thinking, I can't take a chance on traffic or whatever. So now, before, you have to be in the dressing room. You can be in the ground as much as you want. But we go to the training ground pre-match together. But then because it was so small, half the lads to go home, half the lads just lies around in the changing room, the training ground, and wait for your time to drive to the stadium. You're basically going in with the fans, and then it was like nice relaxed sort of atmosphere, and then it sort of go. In that changing room, then it's mindset, game's on. It was different how they went about things compared to us in England. You had to look after your own boots. You'd have to concentrate. That's your mindset of your game's on. Even though you're Clivert or your Cocker, you've got to take your own boots to the game. Remember your shin pads, and that's their way of. They do it as a youngster, and it doesn't leave them.
Keep you grounded.
We could give Jimmy a little bit of, come on, Jimmy, look after my boots for me or whatever. But that's how they sort of focus on the game. So I really enjoyed my time there until the managers did too well for Australia and South Korea, and then he finally left, and Ronald Koeman, as we all know, came into the football club, and I was buzzing with that. I was thinking Ronald Koeman used to obviously rate him as a player. He brought in Jan Bouters as an assistant. Jan knew me inside out. Jan knew me all my time at Rangers. He knew about my knee. He knew about my mentality. He knew everything. So I thought, I'm in good hands here. And pre-season started. Played every game pre-season, and they had, I can't pronounce it, but it's like the Charity Shield. I was out the squad, completely out the blue, and didn't understand why. They brought a couple of players in. It's like a revolving door in Holland, but didn't understand where that come from. Pulled Jan he said he's heard that you're going to Blackburn. I said, well, no. He said, apparently you turned down to go to Blackburn. I said, I haven't spoke to Blackburn. I don't. He goes, oh, no, that's it. So then, apparently, that happened. We had the Champions League, Charity Shield game sort of happened. Then we had a sort of weekend off, come in, and then Kuma pulled me in the office and said, you're playing a game. We've got an in-house game today. For the lads who never played, well, that's fine. He goes, on an artificial. I said, I'm not playing any artificial. I said, I didn't play last because there's a couple of teams in that league had artificial. Right, and the surgeon said, just stay away from that. If you want your career to carry on, stay away. I said, well, I can't. Speak to Jan. He understands if you train artificial, I can't train. I've got a separate program to do that. So, and he goes, well, you're playing. I said, I'm not. I said, you're playing? I said, I'll go and speak to Jan. So left the office. I thought, whatever. So I spoke to Jan. I said, he wants me to play the artificial. He goes, Michael, he's the manager. I can't say nothing. I said, come on, Jan. I said, I can't. He's my boss. I said, you know my street inside out. And I said, I'm not risking it. He said, you know what's happened in the past. And that was it. That was my sort of relationship gone. And transfer window closed, pretty close after that. And I was basically stuck. I was, as we probably understand it, Niacid. I was Niacid. Yeah. I was in the changing room. Cocker used to have a few meetings with him. He was stubborn. He wouldn't change his mind. I was in and around the first team dressing room, playing pool and darts with them all, and then they go one way. I had to go another way. I was always the first one in. Always trying to be in the manager's eye. Yeah. Always, and I think that peed him off even more. Did they? He's thinking, what's he still doing here? What's he still doing? I think he's trying to break me or whatever he's trying to do. But I'm picking up the Dutch papers, sitting close, trying to do everything I can. Yeah. Even eating Dutch cake and a cup of tea. Trying to say, look, I'm here for the experience. I'm here to play. But then can't even be involved in the training. It kills you. It's back to sort of square. It wasn't different. It's different at Rangers because I was with the lads and I just couldn't play. Yeah. But I've had that sort of experience. I thought, well, he'll change his mind soon. An opportunity will happen. Something will happen. Then, you get kicked out of the dressing room. Then you're sort of... PSV's training ground was brand new. It was brilliant, but it was first team section. Yeah. Reserves, stroke, whatever section. And there's a few of us got moved out there. And that was sort of the end. I knew that was you just thinking it's going to be the longest season ever. My family moved back. They had to. I was like, well, I'm not going to be here. I need to get things, get the kids in school. Yeah. And January come. There was talks quite a few times with Everton. It never really happened. Happened at Rangers a few times. It was just never seemed to have got over that. We signed Pistone. We've done a few other things where I wish that opportunity happened. But look, I was nowhere near that level anymore. And you're just hoping for someone to give you an opportunity. And thankfully, Stuart Pearce, Man City, just said, come down, we need a bit of help. We're struggling. You've got the experience of being in the Premier League and relegation, and you've got a winner's mentality, blah, blah, blah. So then that was sort of just packed up my stuff, left, didn't go back. Haven't been back to say Tara. Still speak to a few people staff wise, like Martin and stuff, especially through social media, and have a laugh. But you get invited to go back. They invite you to all kinds of games, which is great. So they're still remembered. But that was a difficult 6 months. But then signing for Man City, but there's some dodgy hairdo going on. I must have got old Dutch on me instead of the accent of Joey Barton and Steve McLaren. I think I copied the hairstyle because obviously I haven't been playing football for a while, so I didn't really take care of myself, I think, on that department. And Ben Thatcher left the football club, left back. He liked his kit very, very tight. I struggled to wear that number 3 in the first game. I had to cut the neck. And then my second game against Preston, we sort of, again, cup games, difficult. Preston started really brightly and shocked us a little bit, but then I got a chance to score, and thankfully it went in. And then that was sort of, I can still play footy. I'm all right, and then just enjoy the rest of the moment at City then.
Just looking at it, the captain City on a few occasions as well. Manchester derby. You and Mr. Ronaldo had a little bit of an altercation. Well,
yeah, slipped a little bit, didn't I?
Yeah. You give him a bit.
Afterwards, I don't know what the mindset is. I'll tell you the build up to it. Afterwards, I was disappointed in myself. Never been sent off. I was hard. I was always hard in a tackle, sharp in a tackle. Like to give it to players, but in a fair way. Let them know you're there. Yeah, I let myself down on that point of view, but there was a bit of a story behind it all. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do at all, but obviously the little wink he did to Wayne a year or so before in that summer. Like if anyone's watched the Beckham documentary, Cristiano was hated for a long period of time after that. Unfortunately, the manager, Stuart Pearce, left back, psycho. Yeah. And played against Ronaldo a couple of times for Rangers, against United. Tricky, obviously knew what he was all about and knew I was going to be in the game. But it was my dad beforehand. He said, what are you going to do? I was like, what do you mean? Just what I normally do. Yeah. And I thought, why has he opened his mouth? So I had this sort of chance of thinking, well, I'll get him. I will. Like any winger, not just Cristiano. Look, you're in a game here, and 9 times out of 10, you like going the other side, and it gives me an easy chance.
Easy one,
the only person who I couldn't do that to was Ray Parlour. If I kicked and elbowed Ray, he'll kick and elbow me back. And he said I wouldn't get switched to the other side because I wasn't good enough. Because they had Henry or Perez, so I couldn't get rid of him. So look, you try and get one up on your opposition, and I seen signed for City, seen Wayne. The services was putting petrol in, and I just joked. I said, "I'll get him for you," as a joke. But I couldn't play the first game. I wasn't the first time. Ronaldo, after that season, I didn't play in a derby for one reason. I don't know if it was the new player came in or I was injured. I'm not too sure what it was. So I had to wait for me time. Which I never really thought about it, to be honest. But then when it come round, I'm like, oh, I've promised Wayne, and I just. But what Ronaldo's done, he did what David Beckham did. He turned the whole country right round again, full circle from disappointment in him and the chance and the booing he was got. He turned into a superstar, and everyone was clapping him off the pitch. Opposition. And their own team, but it was still in there with me. And till this day, I do not know why I did it. I've seen an opportunity to probably leave a little bit on him, but when I look back, I go, "Well, what have I done that for?" I got away with it.
You didn't get.
I got away with it. There was no VAR.
No.
But I felt, and then Wes, a good mate of mine, brought me down later on in that game, and we missed a penalty. So it ended up being that. It just even worse that what I did and didn't even win. I didn't get a point out of it. It looks really bad, and I had to write a letter. Rio Ferdinand went off his head, but I get it. I would, and I just had to suck it up and apologise. And look, it's out of my character. It's not me. It's not. Sorry, you don't do that to any professional footballer. And I just don't know what come over to me. I don't know. Probably just knew he was going to rip me. I probably just knew he was going to get the better of me, and I've got no explanation for why I did it, because normally I as I said, like a fair heart attack. That's not fair. That's sort of being a coward.
What did you do? For anyone who hasn't seen it, you've left.
I've gone tight on him. Went tight on early doors, and I played against him before that. I knew that if I keep on pestering him, he'll disappear the other side of the pitch, and that's what my idea was. In that moment, he slipped. And he's on the floor, and while he's on the floor, I had to turn around and get back into my position. So my left foot, instead of touching the grass, touched him. But when you look at it, it's touched him on purpose to leave one on the ground. And I probably knew I was going to get away with it because the game went behind us. The referee's eyes were all further up the pitch, and I probably knew I was going to get away with it. I'm just second guessing why I did it.
Emotion, intensity,
it's everything. Derby, it's the full hit emotion again. Got like it did Celtic Rangers, got the better of me. I probably didn't want him to make a fool of me.
You're not the first, mate. And you're not going to. I doubt you'll be the last.
It was just disappointing afterwards because it's sort of like you're thinking your kids are going to see that. You see the bigger picture of it, which you don't think of at the time, which is totally wrong of me. You
obviously got an injury again, and that was it, a knee injury again. You had to have an operation.
It was the same situation. It was just, again, spoke to the surgeon. Unfortunately, he'd done his collarbone and he couldn't do it at the time. But again, at Man City, it was prevention. They knew the issue. Playing well, getting player of the month, getting man of the matches. So I'm thinking it's not that bad. Hindsight, looking at the rehab wasn't as good in between matches. Right. I think it was just the wear and tear of the games were physically demanding that while I can play 90 minutes and do well, it was waking up, coming down the stairs on your backside, can't travel into Manchester, couldn't really train, I couldn't lift my leg up on the physio table to get looked at. And again, the pressure City were under right at that time. My personal situation was different because looking back at my career, I've had 3 managers, 3 different owners. It was all take over stuff. You had to impress to be a part of it all. They couldn't offer long-term deals because they didn't know where they were financially. So it was all of, let's see how you get on. And Sven was brilliant. We done yoga, trained every day under Sven. We done really well, brought in some top players. Really enjoyed it. Felt a key player. Playing football, you're not telling anyone you saw. You're getting on with it.
Just get on with it.
But it was managed well. I was having my days off when needed, and the physios were on top of it. Mark Hughes came to the football club. Intensity in training was total opposite of Sven. It was a lot physical, good. It was enjoyable, but demanding for my knee. Had to sort of wait for me time as well because he brought players in. Overthrown that again and got me opportunities to run a game. So you're not saying anything. If you're playing football back to back, you're playing. And if I play Saturday, I wouldn't train Monday.
Right.
But then over the Christmas period at Manchester City was, back to back games, Christmas, and that was just a downfall of playing 3-4 games in 10 days. I've never done that in my career. So my knee wouldn't stand that. And disappointed. I should have said something, but the physios knew. The physio saying you shouldn't be playing football, but it's the manager's decision. I'm thinking, and we were having contract talks as well. He loved it, but then Trevor was pestering him. He's putting his phone in his pocket, so you're getting blanked there, Trev. And I can see why from his point of view because he knew there's money coming in. He wanted to bring in obviously bigger names, bigger players, and I get that, but I wanted to be a part of it like I did with Sven. Sven wasn't too keen on keeping me. He just said, look, you've only been here 6 months, so I'll give you the benefit of doubt, but I'm going to bring in, like he did to everyone, I'm going to bring in better players. You're all good players. If you want to move on, knock on my door, I'll help you. If you want to be a part of it, if you want to be competitive, stick around, shows your attitude, and I'll give you the opportunity. And he'd done that to everyone. He'd done it to me, he'd done it to Joe Hart, Kasper Schmeichel and Isaacson. They all got 6 games each, no matter the result, no matter of the performance. And then he chooses his best one, which obviously we know is Joe Hart. And he did it sort of with myself when he gave me opportunity. He gave me a run of games and then I stayed in there then. So you're hoping the Mark Hughes situation that would happen again. As you said, making me captain at certain moments. You're thinking you're part of it. Contract talks are going positive. The secretary of Manchester City loved me, Bernard. He's passed away recently, unfortunately. He was never missed a Man City game home and away for donkeys and donkeys of years. Loved it. Just loved my attitude, I think, of seeing me hurt for playing. But then, I think coming off the Blackburn game round about Christmas period, that was... I could not move. No. And the surgeon gave me a slap on the wrist, told me he'd been a divvy. And Mark Hughes is not going to offer you the contract then if you're going to be no good for him for the next 18 months, 2 years. So unfortunately, that's another 6 months of rehab at City while you're under contract and going in there and getting rehab. But the focus is on the other players coming in, the Bellamy's and Tevez, and so you're not getting looked after. They were trying, but it's the outer
priority, innit?
Yeah, there's priorities, of course there is. So then that was just another little bitter pill to swallow, really, on that point of view. But it was enjoyable being back playing English football. You get the buzz of it. It is different than Holland and Scotland. Being back with in the best league, it is, and to be competitive while still struggling. Look back, pretty proud of that.
Yeah. Quickly, what was it like playing against Everton?
Horrible. It didn't happen for a long time. It was. You think you're older and wiser, and you'd be able to handle it. Right, but I think that's probably hampered me, that I didn't play against Everton straight away and got that sort of
out the way.
Coming into Goodison, seeing people being very friendly to you and wishing you well, and you're seeing old faces, and you're thinking, it was good, but you think, I've had moments to come back, so I wanted to impress. You could have brought me back. That little bite inside me.
Because it did look like at times you were coming back.
There was always talk. There was always talks a little bit, but whether it was the board or whether it was the manager at the time, not really 100% over it. It just never really happened. They made other decisions, and so it was always disappointing. But yeah, it was horrible. Another one, a couple of reasons, because we started playing good football. City with a good footballing side, but we just got moist.
Yeah,
and I'm coming off, going into the lounges afterwards and speaking to my family, who are obviously all Blues and my net cousins, going, "Oh, we passages, But Cahill does his thing last minute, and there was. I think it was later came for the Man City team that even though we're a better team, possession based and creating opportunities, we didn't have that cutthroat. No. We got sucked in. We give away set pieces, and that was it. And Everton won a couple of games, and that was always frustrating, because you want that sort of, you're happy to Everton win, but also I wanted to prove that you want to win a football game at the end of the day for the team.
You want to get one over. Well, let's be honest. You want to get one. You want to get one over.
Exactly, yeah, you do. So that it didn't always happen. Every time we did get beat, it was when we were really good. When we got results, we weren't that good.
Obviously went to Leicester and had only played 3 games there, but obviously that's coming to the end with you.
That's when that was an opportunity that I shouldn't have took.
Yeah.
But that was because of the knee injury from City. I was sitting on the couch for 2 years doing rehab. I was going to Lilleshall. My career was over. I've retired. That was me done and dusted. Meant to go and do my coaching badges. Sven got a few jobs everywhere. Notts County took Casper. He wanted to sign me and Sol Campbell. Then I think Sol signed.
Sol didn't he?
I never signed because my knee was nowhere near ready.
Yeah.
And then when he came to Leicester, he said, "Look, I know you haven't been good enough football." He said, "But your mindset, your attitude, your experience, just come. We're going to Sweden pre-season, and let's see how you get on." I was like, didn't really want to go, because pre-season to me is hard when I was fit, and not doing nothing for 2 years. And when I mean nothing, couldn't go and kick footy with your mates. So I haven't kicked the ball. So you're thinking, can I still do it? Am I going to embarrass myself? So I thought pre-season, I'll go. I ended up going, played every game in pre-season, enjoyed it, held my own. Obviously, fitness needed to jump up a little bit. Yeah. And Sven said, "Look, I'm going to sign you." He said, "But I'm going to sign Paul Konchesky. I'm going to sign a few other big players." And I was like, "Well, personally for me, I'm not too sure. Yeah. If it's the right thing for me." And he goes, "You're holding your own. You're doing everything what you should do and more. But that change room is more important for me. I'm new. They're new. Yeah. Bringing players." And we brought a few Scouts lads in. Lee Peltier come in. Neil Dan's come in. Matt Mills from Man City came in. The Yak was obviously there with Sven. They wanted to try and bring him, keep him there from the year before. So they were going places, and they wanted to sort of change the mindset around how Leicester were at the time, and change it around. And I should have said no.
Yeah.
But I would have been sitting here going, what if?
What if, yeah.
What if? You know, and unfortunately for Leicester, we didn't start too brightly. You know, the expectations was we should be top of the league. The owners were ruthless. You know, they want to win every game like everyone does. So they took the decision to let Sven go. Then Nigel Pearson comes to the football club. I said, look, I'm still living in Liverpool. I'm travelling every day. You know, a few of the lads in Manchester were travelling. Jermaine Beckford was travelling from Ormskirk. He wanted to change that, obviously, you know, to get everyone closer together. And as lads said, that's not happening. He said, I'm not moving here. I'm not playing. You know, I said, let's move. Shook hands. So that was great for him to come up to me, to be honest. It was his idea. Spoke to Leicester, and they were great. Well, thanks for everything. But it was a decision that I didn't do anything really. You know what I mean? I obviously didn't get a chance to play in the league there to get a run of games, but played against Ronaldo again. You know, I think they got paid a few million quid to come and play the final pre-season game at the stadium. And Christy, you know, you want to speak to him, and then he sees me and runs the other side of the pitch. I'm half pleased that I'm going to have an easy game in front of my home fans. But it was Marino was the manager, so I spoke to Jose beforehand, and so it was buzz to be back and being around, and it was great, especially for mental reasons, to be honest, as well. Being back in that football environment again was good, but even though you probably feel that you're holding your own, you're not. You know, you're not. Your head is, your body's not. And I think anyone who's 110% fit and doesn't do anything for 2 years and tries it, you're going to struggle. And I wasn't anywhere near 110% fit, so it was a decision I probably, looking back, I should have said no to. But it was just a what if I can do it, you know. And I was still young, so that was, and I didn't want to get shouted at by the surgeon again, because he's told me to stop far too many times. You know, he's told me to stop at City. I carried on. He stopped me. So I didn't tell him I was signed for Leicester, you know, and I was luckily enough, my knee didn't go back to him, you know, because it would have given me a right good slapping.
They'll be in trouble. Did you ever think about coaching?
Yeah, when I was playing, I always thought coaching would be right up my street, to be honest. I thought the way I went about things, especially as a senior pro, especially in Man City and being around how they are in Holland. And the way they do team talks, the players do their own team talks. Each one gets their own chance to coach, and you put your own opinions across. So you get used to that type of thing. What I didn't do, I should have done it when I was playing, which a few players do. But I had a mindset of, I'm focusing on playing. I'm focused on me hours in training. I didn't want to train on a Tuesday and do hours afterwards. I feel like you're taking your eye off the ball of being competitive at the weekend. So I never did that. And then I sat on the couch doing rehab. You know, that's when I should have done. I was protecting my knee. I was thinking, how can I coach if I can't kick a ball? You know, so then too much time went. And then people forced me to go and take me badges. So I said, come on, make the phone call. Went up to Scotland. Unzi was one of the coaches there, just coaching the lads. Peter Lovenkrands, my old roommate, was there. So I thought, you know, I'm going to enjoy this. It was not me.
And you didn't?
No, I've been out of football too long.
Okay.
And I just went, I don't get this. The definition.
No buzz for it.
There was no buzz. There's no job guaranteed, obviously. You know, and there was like component 1, component 2 into a phase of play, and I'm going, what are they talking about? You know, it's like left foot, stand there, cross it in. Like, that was my thinking. I'm a bit of a dinosaur, and I didn't have the time personally in my private life to put the hours in that's dedicated to need it. So, you know, by Wednesday I was home picking the kids up from school. I didn't last. I thought, it's not going to be me. It's not something I could sort of fully commit to. So I was like, and probably because I got told to do it more than anything else. I think if I wanted to do it, I might have put my head down. So that's disappointing. I didn't do it while I was in my career, but there was the reasons why I never. And so that was that door closed.
You play for some great managers. I mean, you know, just list. Joe, you were there under Joe Royle, Howard Kendall, Walter Smith, Dick Advocaat, Gus Hiddink, Sven-Göran Eriksson. Mark Hughes, Sven again. I've put Nigel Pearson on the list, but he did do all right. Ronald Koeman as well. I mean, that's quite an array of managers. Who would you say? Oh, it's probably a difficult one for you, but who would you rate as the best one for you? Not, it mightn't even be someone you played a million games for, but
I think Joe Royle was, even though I didn't play with him, I think him and Willie Donaghy's training methods were probably ahead of the time. How he thought about how you walked, how you did certain situations, scenarios, off the field activities, which everyone does now. Howard was just a dream to be around in. You know, Howard just ticked every box for me. Legend, blue. You wanted to impress him, you didn't want to let him down. So you felt that you had to be at it with Howard for those reasons alone. Walter, different style.
You're not going to rate them here, are you? You're just going to rate them.
But the ones that remind me, it's obviously you look at what they've done in their career, and Gus Hiddink's probably head and shoulders the best one out of a lot of them. What he's achieved. But it's all down to, I think, man management and how they do it. Sven was very quiet, very demeaning, but again, you knew where you stood with him. You know, he said, if you play well, you stay. If you play bad, I buy someone. So it's up to you.
Fair enough.
So it's up to you to put the work in. And if you're up for the fight, you do that. And Gus Hiddink, again, we use a bit of a general, like Advocaat, that they were hard at you. So they weren't friendly. You know, they weren't sort of nice to you. Nice after the event and nice after the season. But they're pushing you. And that's what you want as a player. You want to be pushed, you want to be challenged, and you got to find a solution and answer yourself. And they're the ones who sort of get the best out of you. You know, every player is different. There wasn't any over tactics that you see. You know, a lot of them were all pretty basic. But they understood when to use it and when not to use it. And so there's a lot of experience there that you think you could feed back into football in one way or the other.
That's what I was saying about the coaching, because like you said, that's unbelievable. To finish, 5 things you can't do without in your life. It can be anything, but 5 things you can't. I mean, we could say your phone, but it's knackered, isn't it?
Yeah, phone's not working. I want 5 days off on my phone. Kids, even though they do me head in, they're the best thing. It's family. Everton. Used to be. I would have said football when I was a kid. But
no,
I don't trust me right foot. But not to kick it, to keep me balanced when I swing me left. But it's good playing kids with the footy in the garden, but it's a lot of throwing comes into it.
Is that what it is? That knee still.
But I think you have to be a ball. It's got to be a ball. How many have I got? 4?
That's 4. You have 1 to go.
Ooh. My couch.
After that 2 years we have on it.
I got used to the couch over here.
Michael, thank you very much for coming in and having a chat.
It was great to go down memory lane. Thank you.
Certainly was down memory lane. Thanks, man.
Cheers.